Hey,
Hello.
how we doing?
We're well. I don't know why, but my porch light is dim.
You look a little like you're in the shadows,
Yeah.
lurking.
And I think the LED is finally dying.
Oh
It's been going
man,
forever, you know?
it's probably installed like 15 years ago.
No. It's probably been almost a year since I changed it, which is interesting because, I don't really remember too much of eighth grade science, but I just remember them saying light emitting diode never goes bad. And it's
Yep.
like, well, I don't know about this one. Uh, so what's going on,
It's
my
more
friend?
dramatic lighting.
It sets the ambiance.
Yes. Not a whole lot, man. Casey Cannon will be joining us at some point here soon.
Excellent. Good.
So I put that Cox was going to be with us too, but he is not.
Oh, see, I
It's
thought he
just
said he
be
was gonna.
Casey. Well, he was aiming for the 15th, but
Right, but I thought in our group chat earlier, he said he was going to screw it. I'll just come.
oh, I don't know if that was the case or not. Probably ought to message him and find out.
Yeah, actually, I just got 2 pings, so let me see if that was him.
Everyone's very impressed that you're on time.
Well, see, here's the thing: is that you're late once, and you're that guy, but I'm not normally that late. It's you start without me early. That's the problem.
There's a little bit of both.
I'd say it's a 60-40. You start early.
Fair enough.
How's my audio tonight?
It's good.
All right, good, because it's drizzling, and I was really excited for tonight because we actually got our first cool, crisp morning this morning.
Yeah.
It was a breezy 72 degrees, and I was optimistic. And then the overcast came in, and it's just been muggy and raining, and it's like 900% humidity right now, but it's only like 76 degrees, so it's tolerable. But I did go and try and buy one of the Askipula Snakebite Foundation hoodies like you're wearing right now. And it said, we're sorry, that campaign is not being run right now. Would you like us to notify you? And I was like, damn. All right, well, you know what? Hopefully I'll try and get one before I actually, quote unquote, need it in South Florida. And like 2 days later, they sent me an email. The campaign's back on, so if you want your hoodie, buy it now. So it's supposed to be delivered in, I guess, 3 to 5 weeks.
So. Yeah, a lot of that drop shipping stuff, like Teespring and whatnot, they take their sweet time, but it is what it is. Mine actually got here pretty quick, though. Like mine wasn't nearly as slow as that. So
no, maybe, and I ordered it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I ordered it 2 weeks ago, and then I got the confirmation email saying, "Hey, we have your money. We're going to make it." And then I got curious because I have some stuff coming from the Kinixis cooperative as well, and I know that they were a little delayed with getting their swag. So I looked at my invoice from Bonfire, and it was like, it shall be delivered between November 21st and November 27th or something. And I'm like, geez, all right.
Well, this is episode 97 of Snakes and Stogies, which is brought to you by Puget Sound Pythons, right up here in the corner with the blue. Yep, not my logo, but there's, you see it. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, please go give them a follow across the board as far as platforms go. Give this video a like and subscribe.
Feel free to share it as well if you feel so inclined.
Feel free to share it.
Yeah, there's a little bell on YouTube. I know for all us fuddy-duddies, you got to click that bell and then change it to all notifications. So every time the Herpetoculture Network does something miraculous, you'll be notified.
There's Sir Cannon. I was going to get one of those USB ports so I have more USBs so I could have my mouse right here and be able to do all this stuff without having to move 2 feet.
Yeah.
Because I'm lazy. But the dude at Walmart I couldn't tell if he was like on the clock, if he was off the clock. There was no one else around. he kept like walking around with his keys in his hand, like car keys, and so I just kind of gave up and moved on.
Well,
I'm down.
There he is. There's our resident Georgian.
Right here. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great. The
Cool,
I
thanks.
was gonna say, Justin, I want to buying. I don't need it on this particular MacBook because it's got a million ports. But for my MacBook Pro, I got a dongle that has like 6 normal USBs on it. So,
I just wonder if it can run the camera, the mixer. Like, is this stuff too much for one?
well, I was gonna say,
I don't know how they work. So.
they're like, it was like $8 on Amazon and Prime free delivery. So like, you buy that, you try it. If it doesn't work, you buy another one, put it on the other side of the laptop. You know,
because the one that Walmart had was that On brand that they, I guess, is theirs, and it was like a powered port. Like it had like,
oh nice.
it was serious, and it didn't have a price tag on it. The price tag was missing, and so I was gonna ask that dude what the price was, and ended up just going to get other stuff instead. So
Cool, good stuff. Good stuff.
what are we smoking upon this eve?
This evening, I broke out Old Faithful, the Liga Privada number 9.
Numero 9.
Numero 9.
Hecho a mano para el jefe. So
yourself?
I guess the rep for Gurkha came by recently, and there was a sample left on the counter at work that I took, and it is a Gurkha Revenant. It says it's aged 13 years. It's a rare release resurrected blend.
Was that in a glass
And-
tube?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It's a box, like a box press.
Okay.
I saw it. The label looks cool. I'm not a big Gurkha guy, but I saved it just to try it here and see if it's worth anything. And then backup is a La Roma de Cuba Edición Especial, which are very good. I do like those.
Excellent.
And your feet are looking fetching tonight, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
And Casey, what are we imbibing this evening?
Oh, got some more kombucha.
Kombucha.
Yeah,
Nice.
I've been on kind of like a weird health drink kick lately, so that
That's
one looked
good.
good. Haven't tried it yet. It doesn't taste amazing, but it's passable.
Does it defeat the purpose if you water it down or mix it with like a mixer?
I don't know. I've got a friend who's super granola that's really into this stuff, and he actually makes his own. So he's been trying to get me more into it. It's a very acquired taste as far as a drink goes. I really like the stuff with pineapple and peach in it. This is apple cider vinegar, but yeah, it's not the best, but it's passable.
The first time I ever had real apple cider vinegar was before Underground had their farm. They used to have a warehouse, and it was like the front of the warehouse was offices, and then the back of the warehouse is where they kept all the animals. And there was a bottle of it looked like an old sake bottle, but the label had been peeled off. It was dingy looking, and the owner of Underground, Ryan, he's like, you want to try something that'll really just clear you out? And I was like, all right. I was like, clear out the top or clear out the bottom? He's like, does it matter? You know,
like a little
just
bit,
like
but
straight face, just like, does it matter? And I was like, all right. And everyone else had these little he bought those little plastic, like little shot glasses you get at the dentist.
Mhm.
And he had a little solo Dixie cups, whatever they are. And he had a bunch of them. Everyone had one. Like everyone was drinking it. And I guess they meant it to be like the jokes on Phil, you know? And he pours the apple cider vinegar. I had no idea what it was. And he's like, don't smell it. Just drink it like a shot. And this is a man who does not imbibe alcohol. And I was like, all right, coming from him, it's not going to be lethal, whatever. I'm sure I've drank worse. And I just took the shot. And at first I was like, wow, that's really good and refreshing. Oh, wow. Yeah, there it is. And I drink a lot. I drink gasoline if I could, but it's a dangerous beverage.
yeah,
Yeah.
And like for the record, this is non-alcoholic. It's just a weird thing that
It's
apparently
just-
the hippies
yeah.
are the hippies are into these days. So
Yeah. Well, when the hippies bathe, they look fantastic. So
This is true.
Uh,
But yeah, no, apple cider vinegar for the people listening. We may go into more reptile tips in a little bit, but if you want to get the fruit flies out of your room,
that's what
apple
I
cider
use.
vinegar is one of the best things to attract fruit flies.
Do that with a drop of Dawn in it to break the surface tension, and then once they hit it, because the Dawn is in there, they sink. They don't
sink right to the bottom.
Yep.
yeah, and don't drink Dawn. We're not talking about us. We're talking about fruit flies.
They work like $1 million. Just get a little cup or a jar, take a plastic bag, cut a corner out, put that corner in the jar like a funnel, put a rubber band or something around the bag, fill it, after you've put in your apple cider vinegar and your Dawn, and just watch them start dropping like flies.
Pun intended.
But yeah, if we're doing reptile tip stuff, yeah, I think people should learn with this kind of thing. There is a difference between a forward fly and a fruit fly when it comes to things that are infesting your reptile room. I believe. What was that?
I said enlighten us.
Yes.
I thought they were the same thing.
Yeah, a forward fly is more attracted to dead and rotting things. I actually had a major problem with them maybe a summer or two ago with my blue tongue skink stuff because I was feeding them wet dog food. And every once in a while, you'd miss like a little chunk, they'd grab the wet dog food and kind of shake it around a little bit. And that would attract forward flies because they are a species that naturally flocks towards dead and decaying material. So I had like a major outbreak. And you have to learn the difference because the things that attract forward flies, which like things that are dead and rotting, it's not going, the same tricks to attract fruit flies aren't going to work for forward flies. So they're not necessarily attracted to apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they act a little bit different.
I was under the impression they were the same thing because Dr. Loafman talks about it with crypto and how forward flies are like most of the time the prime suspect when it comes to spreading crypto. But I always assumed they were kind of the same thing. But that makes sense now, actually.
Forward flies are the more like main reptile room infester. I think they actually come out of drains. Like I think they reside in people's sewage systems and they can come out through the drain.
Yeah, they have the name sewer fly. So if you live in the Northeast or like in urban environments or in the megalopolis, most people call them sewer flies.
Yeah, they have black eyes instead of red eyes. They're actually more likely to run on the ground versus fly, which is kind of a weird thing about them. And way more likely to be infesting your reptile room than a fruit fly.
This cold brew I made is horrible. I'm dumping it and getting my bang. Stand by.
Enjoy yourself.
Speaking of sewer water, this is what it tastes like.
I started to get them real bad when I was growing the wheatgrass, and what happens is the wheatgrass root, I have to feather the amount of moisture it contains. I was actually using Eco Earth as a substrate, and what happens is when the Eco Earth is too waterlogged, because the roots of the root system of the wheatgrass is putting out, I guess it's phosphates, it attracts mass quantities of forward flies. Mm-hmm. And as the wheatgrass dies, it like wilts over. It would just be more and more flies. And it was pretty yucky for a little bit, but I got it under control. And it's not anywhere near animals, so it's not that big a deal. But
what'd you do to get rid of them? Because I figured out kind of how to get rid of them just because I had to.
Yeah.
But
honestly, those fly ribbon strips.
Yes, they work amazing.
They work like $1 million.
Until you walk face first into one.
Well, you don't do that. And the liquid that they give you to put on the fly ribbon that literally smells like rotten feces. Mm-hmm. They give you way too much. So literally, I will put like 4 drops, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. And it works like $1 million. The only problem is if you're putting it in somewhere like, say, your bathroom or in your snake room, it's going to smell like rotten poop. So I usually tell people to string one up, light a scented candle that's not going to be abrasive or harmful to your animals, because the flies will flock to the flame as well. It gets kind of gross because sometimes you get flies in the wax, and then you got to like carve them out.
Smells like burnt hair.
But that works for me. That works like $1 million. So
I bet you could take that same juice and do the same funnel trap that we talked about. You just put a little bit on like the inside above where you would put the vinegar.
Yeah.
Or even water. You just do water with Dawn, maybe.
Could
just
be.
a little bit. I don't know. It'd be interesting to try it.
Yeah, I use the sticky traps. I also figured out that basically you have to completely stop an entire generation of them from being able to exist.
Yeah.
So that was kind of difficult with blue tongues because you have to feed them a lot more than snakes. With snakes, what you do is you just don't feed them for 3 weeks, and they don't grow for those 3 weeks, but you get rid of your flies. Skinks, you have to be really, really careful about what you do with the food, so that they don't sling around a little bit, and then there's a pack of forward flies finding the food in the corner. So basically, you have to be able to stop an entire generation of them from existing to really stop them in your room, which isn't always the easiest thing, depending on what you keep. I'm sure that if I was a Leachianus gecko keeper or something like that, it'd be very difficult.
I'm just always amazed at where any kind of fly larva comes from. It's fascinating to me because when you have as many animals as we do, something is going to go awry. You're going to have a rat that never got eaten. You may have a partially digested prey item. You may have regurgitation, whatever it may be. But if you don't catch it in time, there's maggots out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've had
I do always wonder where they come. Like they literally, you won't see them for months, and then all of a sudden they're just there.
Yeah, that's literally it. And
I think they come out of the drain. I literally think they just fly out of the drain.
I mean, that's really the only place that I can think of.
Yeah, but there's no drain in my room. You know what I'm saying?
But
it's sealed off to the outside world.
I agree with that. I think you're completely right. But at the same time, I mean, you live in Florida, so they can come in just through the front door, and even if one pregnant female comes in, she can lay however many eggs. I'm sure it's dozens of eggs, and then that starts an infestation.
Right, but my whole thing is, let's say, all right, just speaking, excuse me, I give a frozen thawed prey item to a viper, right? The viper bites it and venomates it and doesn't eat it unbeknownst to me. Now it has rapidly started to digest because of the venom itself, right? And it's already dead. If I don't catch it within a day or two, I've got maggots crawling on it. Where did the maggots come from? I never saw a fly. There was never a fly there. It makes me wonder if it's almost the eggs are. I mean, I don't want to say they're laid on the prey item. I mean, is that even a thing? Like before it got to me, is that possible?
Or like the eggs are laid, and then it's like a plant almost. Like that, there's seeds, for lack of a better word, and then the right conditions happen, and they just show up.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah, I feel like the rat before it was killed and frozen for me to purchase, maybe it was already there. I mean, who knows? I mean, I hope that someone's listening to this that can give us a better answer. I mean, and to be brutally honest, I haven't really cared that much because I could probably just Google it and find out. But where's the fun in that, right?
It's impossible to know.
Some mysteries will never be solved.
So Henry says they're in the substrate.
I don't buy that either because I use aspen.
Yeah, better yet, I use
dry.
The store bought substrate that says baked to kill bugs, blah blah blah. So I don't know. Or better yet, Eco Earth. If I have a brick of Eco Earth that's compressed cocoa husk, it's been sealed in cellophane for God knows how many months, if not years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and then it's the same thing. Is that some kind of zygote that under the correct conditions, like Casey said, it miraculously turns into life? I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe Doc knows.
Yeah.
Crawdaddy.
Yeah. Crawdads and forward flies, they're basically the same animal. So.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I mean, I would think that if you're studying crypto, then you have to study the vectors and how, like, timelines and things of metamorphosis and windows of opportunity and.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, bugs are weird creatures, so who knows? It really could be a thing where the eggs are just sitting there waiting for months until the right chemical or whatever causes them to hatch. Who knows? But they show up, like Phil's completely right. They show up very quickly in very strange places.
Yeah. And at the same time, it could just be all in our minds. I mean, those flies are so small And typically you don't even see them until they've already feasted on something and they bulked up from their food intake. So it would not shock me if the fly, for lack of a better word, is macroscopic and it just eluded us when it flew in, when I walked in the room, or came in through the air vent. You know what I mean? Like I have screened off air vents, but who's to say that one couldn't be small enough to fly through the screen? Granted, it's intended for mosquitoes, but still.
Now that I have dubia roaches again, I've already noticed fruit flies. Like if I put melon or cantaloupe or anything or like truly organic and not just the roach chow, those flies show up in no time. So I have to pull it before it starts to get overrun.
Yeah.
Which usually means I just leave it overnight.
Henry says the larvae of fungus gnats cannot survive in dry soil. However, they will remain dormant and begin their development once the soil is moist. Very interesting.
Okay. I mean, that goes along kind of with what we're seeing.
Yeah, only instead of it being a moist soil, it's a decomposing prey item, Very interesting.
Some mysteries will never be solved.
Like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, The world may never know.
Exactly. So what's new? What's happened over the last week?
I finally got the last of my labels from Cloud Forest, as well as all the labels for the new exhibit room at Underground's retail store. I actually have a little mini video of the store, just so people can get an idea of what's going to be on display for now. And the goal is, I mentioned it before, I have the anti-venom labels, so that God forbid something happens, the label is Velcro to the enclosure. You can rip it off and stick it to your beard or put it in your pocket or whatever. And now my photos are not updating. Bear with me.
Bill said forward fly larvae live in the organic film that you'd find around things like drains. He said Google says that hot water and or bleach won't do the job. So battery acid or nothing.
Nice.
They ain't surviving that.
So this is not letting me play the video, so I'm going to send it to Facebook. Bear with me, folks.
He said you have to remove organic material even down to that layer of film, so even removing visible food stuff may not be enough.
It's impossible. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
It's borderline impossible in a reptile room.
It's the Skynet of flies, the T5.
They just send them back from the past. How they send them to the past from the future when they know there's going to be something for them to hunt.
They're actually little robots that Biden uses to spy on everybody. They're made of titanium. They're made of adamantium.
Yeah, the
bird flies aren't even real. They're like birds.
It's a glitch in the Matrix. It's just one fly.
Yep.
Government drones sent to kill our snake collections.
They're all listening devices. Move to Australia. We don't have them, the Ipers say. Sure.
Oh, just wait. They'll show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually surprising because I feel like on most
it's time to bottle some up and mail them to Scott.
Right? I think most island nations have some of the most intense fly populations. And I know Australia has a shitload of flies, especially out in the arid regions.
Yes, they do.
So I'm really surprised that they don't have them.
Well, when I was going to
in that Aki video, dude, he was covered.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, flies are horrible out in the outback. Like these little housefly looking things. They're like slightly smaller than houseflies. And their life's goal is to go up your nose, in your mouth, or maybe in your ears. It is
into your brain.
Absolutely horrible. And there are so many of them. They just smell human sweat or any moisture. But the weird thing is, when you go swimming out there, they don't bother you. Like, they're very attracted to moisture, but they don't care anything about the little watering holes and stuff like that. It's absolutely bizarre with those flies.
Interesting. So, did you wear like a mosquito net over your head or not?
The whole time. Like, I don't know how people before the advent of mosquito nets survived out there. It was awful. Like, I don't know if the Aborigines got used to it or they had their own like little tricks and tips to get rid of them, but it was horrible. But they didn't bite. They just like went in your nose and your ears and stuff like that, and like tried to get in your eyes. Anything with moisture.
Lay eggs in your brain and your eyeballs.
Well, that would explain a lot.
So today I was watching videos. I'm contemplating figuring out a way to do black soldier fly larva, like start a group of those. They're considerably more involved as far as setups and stuff than other feeders, but they produce like crazy. Like it doesn't take a big group to get a ton of larvae. It'd be interesting.
Nice.
On the subject of flies.
Especially if you have an animal that will also consume the larva,
Yeah, I've heard those are very nutritious too. That's like one of the best prey items you can do.
Well, on a side note, I finally got that video up and running. So here's their new labels from Cloud Forest. Window, Chrome. There we go.
They look so convincingly like a wasp too. It's pretty interesting.
The soldier flies do?
Yeah.
So again, this is not the most elaborate setups because it is a retail store and the majority of the stuff is for sale to a certain extent. But I thought these labels came out, as always, with Cloud Forest. They came out fantastic. So
Cloud Forest labels really, they really step it up a notch.
Yeah, Matt does a good job with them. I had them on all my dart frog cages.
I love how they have the little range maps on them too.
Mm-hmm.
And for those wondering, what about like how to get the Venom labels? Excuse me. If you click a venomous species on Cloud Forest website, there might be a drop down menu. So I've given him probably around 10 species or so, and I gave him the antivenoms to put on there. So instead of having the ICUN red list status, it'll have the antivenoms that would be accessible in North America typically. Some of them I did not do. Some other people did a lot of other ones. But there's that little drop down menu. So it'll say, do you want antivenom or regular? The regular ones usually have a red background. The antivenom ones have a black background. So it's not like a limited edition Halloween theme or anything. The antivenom ones are black and gray, and they have at least 2, sometimes only 1 antivenom on the bottom. And I tried to put what would be, at least for those species that I got to do or got to help Matt with, I tried to do ones that I knew would be more readily accessible. So Innocerp Mena, Innocerp Pan-Africa, Samar, Crowfab, Institut del Balacon, and then for Atheros squamigera, excuse me, I just put no antivenom.
Prayers.
Yeah, well, I put no antivenom.
Thoughts and prayers.
Right.
Thoughts and prayers.
No, I put it says in quotes, it says no antivenom, try Innocerp Mena, because that has the most amount of variety with Echis. So hopefully that'll help in some degree. So,
Zima.
Smirnoff Ice.
Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah, if you pour Zima on the wound and then shotgun a Mike's Hard real quick,
it neutralizes it.
It neutralizes all the peptides and everything.
It's actually the cure for all diseases. The government does not want you to know that because it'll crush big pharma, but that's actually how you cure everything.
Well, that's what hydroxychloroquine is. It's just Zima and Mike's Hard Lemonade mixed together.
You can cure a stab wound with that stuff. Like, it's really magical.
Well, Ty, it looks like, is very upset that the scientific names are not italicized and there's a capitalization, I guess, of the species.
Well, considering that I did not create them, there's nothing I can do about that. I can make a mention to Matt. Unfortunately, my cages and as well as Undergrounds will forever not be.
No, it's Scott.
Yes, it will forever. My enclosures and Undergrounds will forever not have the correct taxonomical nomenclature.
Tom said, please don't take any alcohol advice from Casey the Margarita Cannon. Oh, speaking of scientific names, though, I am supposed to be on Reptile Fight Club this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's you fighting against?
I don't know. I think it's just Justin and Chuck.
And what's the fight?
The use of scientific names in the hobby.
Really? Well, now that Scott chimed in on my labels being not having the correct nomenclature, I'm disgusted with myself, and I don't know what to do now because now it's going to drive me crazy that they're not italicized, and the species name is capital, so that's going to drive
I'm
me
gonna
nuts.
have to ask that you punch yourself in the genitalia for penance.
I was thinking about
Repeatedly.
the Monty Python, The Search for the Holy Grail with the monks where they smack themselves in the face with a book. It's not even a Bible; it's just a piece of wood.
That booth here.
Hey, what's up, Warren?
He said amateur labels, ellipses, scientific blasphemy.
Jesus! Now,
Man.
How many PhDs are going to pop in on this?
Yeah,
I
come
know.
on.
Sad.
It's unfair. It's like pistol whipping a blind kid.
look, I'll have you know that every single time I write anything, I do my damnedest to use italics properly, making sure that the species name is lowercase and using NOV period when appropriate. But I didn't make the labels, so don't hate me. Yeah.
The ghost of Carolus Linnaeus is going to come up and just smack you right upside the head.
A mint
Yeah.
julep waits for you on the other side.
I literally, I just got envision of like me like rolling over and just Carl sitting there with his white curled wig, just going,
Bitch.
"You were better than that. You were better than that."
I did not die for your sins for this to happen.
Did I tell you guys about me getting his original memoirs in Latin on accident?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I bought them, and it was like $20. And I was like, "This is fantastic! It's a printed version. I'll get this, And it was. I'm pretty sure it was a company in England, and I get it, and it's the whole thing in Latin. They just photocopied the pages. Like you could tell it was photocopied because they're all like off keel,
It was
And I
like
was
the
like-
video camera pirated movie version of
Yes,
Linnaeus book.
That's exactly why it was $20. $20 in the UK and $40 to ship it for a book that I'll never physically be able to read nor translate because when you put it into Google Translate, it makes it sound like half-ass Italian and doesn't make sense.
That does raise an interesting question, though, that I'm sure Scott would have an answer to. When they're doing it in that version of Latin, is it the traditional Latin or is it the Catholic Church Latin? Because that's two different Latins.
No, it's traditional Latin.
Okay, so
Yeah.
even though it was in what was it, England in the 1700s, 1600s, I don't quite know.
I'm pretty sure it was 17. No, it would be earlier than that. It would be 1650, 1640. I don't know. Let me look.
Yeah, look that up because it was before evolution. Like taxonomy was before evolution, which is really interesting.
The other thing too is I'm surprised that it wasn't. I mean, obviously, the whole point of Carl Linnaeus's work was to uniformize. No, it was to make uniform all of the concept of taxonomy. But I'm surprised that there's not more pieces in Swedish. You know what I mean, or what would have been Swedish for the time.
Yeah. Well, he wanted it in Latin because it was. I mean, let's be real here. It's in Europe, so they wanted all the European countries to be able to agree on what an animal is called, and then it, spread to the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's not letting me open anything because Google now hates me because I won't conform to their bullshit.
Join
It's
us or
impossible to know.
die.
This is all conjecture.
Yeah.
There's no way to ever tell it.
It's the meta.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that episode, though. I kind of hope I don't have to defend against using scientific names in the hobby because it's a habit that I do it a lot. And I do think it is kind of necessary to a degree.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, we all use, the three of us, I think, definitely use scientific names a lot when we're talking to one another.
Sure. And I feel like when we don't use scientific names, it's more of a slang,
Mm-hmm.
like how do I phrase this? Like we'll say Brettles, like it's the Brettles, we don't say Bredley or, but then again, if we're talking about, Pantherophis, it's a corn, like those corns or those tesseras or whatever. So I don't know.
I don't know. Our episode with Connor just got me thinking about it, and I guess I had mentioned it to Julander when we were in Texas too, and I completely forgot about that. But we were talking about night snakes with Connor, and I mentioned Hypsoglenna, and there's some confusion there, and that's what made me think more about it. It's like, is there such a thing as using it too much?
I don't think so.
Know.
I don't think so.
I think you should use a common name and a scientific name at the same time if you're not familiar with it, because, I mean, let's be real here. If you say two Latin words one after the other, you could be talking about a type of grass. You could be talking about a type of snail. It's...
Yeah, but it's relative to the conversation, though.
That's what I'm saying. You should use a common name the first time. Like, you should tell me, okay, we're talking about a corn snake, and then you say Pantheropus. I don't actually know what a corn snake is off the top of my head. I'm not going to lie, but...
No,
I like the Australian pythons, but
yeah, and
North American colubrids.
Like Warren says, it depends on the audience. I think it not necessarily the audience per se, but relative to the conversation at hand. So if I'm talking to Justin and I'm like, "Oh yeah, man, the Gab just took a big old crap," he knows I'm talking about a gaboon. I don't have to say the rhinoceros or rhinoceros.
Gabonica.
I could just say the Gab. You know what I mean? But now, does that make me wrong or poor in that regard because I didn't say rhinoceros or rhinoceros?
Well, I mean, that's the question of language. Of as long as you understand what the other is talking about, then it's perfectly fine. I mean, if you're doing a magazine article or something like that, I've really tried to make an effort with some of this stuff to say, okay, the Cyclura iguana, Cyclura pinguis or whatever. And then I said the Anatilia Island rock iguana or whatever it was. You have to be very, especially when you're talking about animals where your audience may not quite know exactly what you're talking about. I feel like it's good to have a common name and a scientific name. So you have, one, a general idea of what we're talking about. And then if you want to look it up, a very specific idea of what you're talking about.
And that's, I mean, for me, that's kind of part of it, is sort of wanting to push people a little more to be like, I've never, what is this? And look it up, and then get in the habit of, using it. I mean, personally, I think that should, so if you've ever been in inverts, scorpions or tarantulas, common names are almost non-existent, at least with the serious part of the hobby.
Right.
And that's where I picked it up mostly, and it just stuck. But it's just so much easier for me to do that because, some of the stuff I don't even know what the common names are of some things.
Some of them don't have common names.
Yeah.
Some of them straight up don't have them.
Like if I say black-tailed rat snake, that doesn't exactly narrow it down. And no. I don't even think of Jansenii the first time I hear that. But that's what Jansenii are, at least by common name, is black-tailed rat snakes. And it sounds fairly generic because there's a lot of rat snakes that have black tails and a lot of snakes that have black tails. So,
yeah, well put. Yeah, it is definitely it is relative to the conversation. It is relative to the audience. I also think that, especially in the United States, people are apprehensive as to pronunciation, and I will, as much as I want to be a stickler, and I was on the phone with Scott a couple weeks ago, and him and I were going back and forth on Squamangera, and he broke out the Latin dictionary, which I now own, and it's phenomenal. Thank you, Scott.
I need to get that.
And we went back and forth, and we broke it down and we deciphered it. But at the same time, if I say squam to somebody, or I say Squamangera, if Scott wants to correct me, 100%, I will take it, because Scott has been breathing this shit for way longer than I have, and I respect him very much so as a friend and as a scientific individual. But I'm not going to break someone's stones if they say, rhinoceros instead of rhinoceros or rhinoceros. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And I think that a lot of Americans, or a lot of, people in the U.S., they get apprehensive to say it wrong. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. I can. Just the other day, there was someone in the cigar shop, and what they were pronouncing some brand it was the CAOs. He pronounced them as cows.
Yeah.
It just kind of made me giggle. Like it's like I thought about it. I was like, it doesn't matter. Like I know what he's talking about.
Right.
It's just kind of funny to hear it pronounced that way.
But at the same time, though, I know countless people that would call it a cow.
Really?
And even though they know what it is, and they've been smoking it for 20 years or however long the company's been around, they still call it a cow just as slang, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's slang or a term of endearment.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. You know? So it's like the word swag in the military. It's scientific wacky ass guess. You know what I mean? You make acronyms and you just slap it out, you know, whatever.
Oh, good. Johnny got his cigars that he won in the raffle last week.
Excellent. Congrats, Johnny.
I think Dan got his today too. So
Awesome.
I know Bill got his. So everything's out there. The only thing I think that we're still waiting on is Elijah's shirt, which has been ordered.
Cool. And dude, Doc Booth busting out the heavy guns with Chondro and Morelia. I love it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Chondro is a term of endearment at this point.
Yeah, it's straight up slang.
Honestly, if they'd made him go back to being Chondro Python, I wouldn't really fight it. It's whatever. I mean, I think Morelia is accurate, but there's some people that are saying they should go back to being Chondro Python. It's like, I mean, if there's not enough evidence to like that says they should be, then whatever.
Well, how about I just saw one. You know, I follow a lot of the South African and Sub-Saharan African snake ID groups because there's just a wealth of knowledge in there, and the photographs are always phenomenal. And don't get me wrong, the majority of the photographs are dead specimens, but even the dead snakes, you get an idea of what the climate was like going on. You see like where they were, if it was urban or rural or, you know, straight up nature, whatever it was. And a guy that I look up to a lot is Johan Marai in South Africa. He's the founder of the African Snakebite Institute. And he put on there, somebody used the word puffy to as a puff adder, right?
Mm-hmm.
As slang.
Yeah.
And I've always called them puffs. And people have said the word puffy to me, like, hey man, did you feed the puffy over there? And he put on there, it was like, please don't use that. That is derogatory slang for the animal and disrespectful or something like that. And I was a little taken back because I feel like
it's a bit much.
It's a bit much, but at the same time, I don't know the context in which it's being used by him. You know what I mean? And maybe it is a derogatory term to the animal. Maybe it is insulting to the species. I don't know, but we always just shortened puff adder to a puff.
Gonyos.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
IMAX.
Gonyos. Right. Yeah.
Like we do it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the snakes can't hear, so I don't think they really they don't really care if you're being politically correct or not. Calling him a puppy.
Well, don't say that, because I actually had a really good conversation with Scott the other day about how snakes can hear. It's just different wavelengths that we normally don't grasp.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
yeah.
So they do hear my horrible singing?
Maybe. We'll never know.
Scott said they will not go back to chondropython unless you decide to place M. carnata into a monotypic genus. It's not viable.
Oh, touche.
Which is fine, because I mean, at what point are they... As far as
Let's just get
taxonomy
every
goes,
species
there's
its own genus.
There's going to be a point where you're splitting hairs, I would think.
Yeah, don't even bring up king cobras.
Chondropython, Morelia, like, yeah, they're related. Do they have to be their own thing? No. People want it to be, I guess, for some reason, because chondro people just desperately want their snakes to be something different and unique. And
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
What is interesting, though, is that birders don't use scientific names. They use common names. For everything I've heard, they only use common names.
Yeah, that's actually a really
strange.
good point. And Justin, you're going to have to bring that up with Dr. Julander too, because he has become a legit birder. And I feel like he's almost focusing more on bird watching than he is on herping. And obviously those are my words, not his. But he's when we were with him in West Texas, he definitely used some scientific names, but I do feel like the majority of the birds he was talking about, it was he would say, oh, that's a double crested, Casey bird, scientific name, blah 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 blah.
A Cannon Swift.
Yeah, and I feel like he's obviously an educated man. He's obviously dealt a lot with taxonomy, and I feel that in that regard, it was what we just talked about, where I don't know anything about birds. So he's going to give me the common name simply so I can grasp what's going on. And then because he knows I also like taxonomy, he'll give me the scientific name as well if I want to retain it or I want to write it down or whatever. So there's an interesting point, Casey.
Yeah, but then, I mean, you have birds where they have so many common names. Like,
yeah,
who decides which common name should be used? Should you be saying North American mockingbird, or you should be saying catbird?
Yeah,
because old people around me call the mockingbirds catbirds, which is right. Who decides that?
Yeah, it's like corn snake and chicken snake.
Yeah,
red rat snake.
Yeah, or red rat snake, exactly. Or down by me now, everyone is on a Keys corn kick, and it's the rosy rat. It's just a rosy rat.
It's a corn snake.
I mean, I do think rosy rat is the best of the common names that I've heard so far, but corn snake is the one that's got the most, tradition, staying power.
Yeah.
I mean, like Brettles pythons. Centralian carpet python is a much better name than a Brettles python.
Absolutely.
An infinitely better name.
Infinitely. But I feel like the only people calling them Brettles are herpers and herpetoculture people.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were at the zoo as a guest and you know nothing about snakes other than you think they're kind of cool or maybe you think they're scary, whatever, and you're at the zoo and there happens to be an Australia display with a centrillion python, it's not gonna say Brettles on there. You know what I mean? It's gonna say a centrillion python.
And you do have that in some of the Barker's books too, where like the Boland's python. They don't want to call it a Boland's python because a Boland's python doesn't describe what it is at all. When it comes to the common name, they call it a black python because it's a black python. They don't want to call a Matlock's python a Matlock's python. They call it a I don't remember off the top of my head, but they call it what islands it's from, like the archipelagos. They find them.
That's what I'm going to start doing, so people will leave me alone about how I pronounce the M word.
That's fine. You're allowed. So
you're not allowed to have an accent and pronounce these things, apparently.
And Scott brings up a good one too, shinglebacks. And then Scott says there is an official common name list. I'm sure there is. But
you think about tarantulas, like it's almost necessary, especially when you get those ones that they kind of know what genus it is, but they don't know what species. You see it a lot in the Cereopagopus and Chilobrachys and stuff like that, where it's like Chilobrachy species, and then in quotations it's like some area or some Asian word, Haiti or something like that. And that doesn't tell you anything, but there is no, like, if there is no common name or there's like 20 common names, like rosehair tarantulas probably have God knows how many common names at this point. Grammostola.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need to know.
Sure. Well, and that's funny you bring up the inverts because like when I was keeping scorpions, a friend of mine, we were trying to get some of the South American stuff, and there was a genus that was endemic to Cuba called Reptile.
Centroroides?
No, it was Reptile.
Oh.
And the quintessential red devil Cuban scorpion was Reptileus junceus, and no one in the United States had it, and no one had gotten them out of the island. Somebody had smuggled them out of Cuba to, I think, the Netherlands, where they were sold to a Swedish guy. The Swedish guy bred them and kept them for about 3 generations, and then did a legitimate shipment from Sweden to the United States and sold, I think it was like 7 or 8 4th or 5th instars. And that was it for the entire country. Well, me and my buddy, we got 4 of those 7. And they didn't last very long. We tried to keep them best we could, and all of them wound up dying about within the first year we had them. So it was kind of a failed project. But those animals are now more prevalent in the United States invert scene, but they're not called Reptileus anymore. It's a genus with an H. And I was trying to look up, and apparently there are more, or has been discovered that there are more species in that Cuban genera, to the point where now it's kind of going like some of the ornamental stuff where it's, I mean, give me an ornamental genera.
Bacillotharia.
Oh, okay, so Bacillotharia. So it's Bacillotharia SSP.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same with the centipedes. It's Scolopendra SSP.
Yep.
So
see that in a lot of Asian tarantulas.
Yeah, and
I don't see it so much
centipedes.
I don't see it so much with scorpions, but centipedes and tarantulas definitely.
Yeah. Oh. And the Gendra says that their favorite centrillion python display was at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm. So there you go.
So they had Erie and Jaya carpet pythons, or some kind of hybrid with clearly a lot of IJ in them.
Right.
Displayed as Brettles pythons. And
really?
I was there with them, and I was very insulted by it. I've been there a couple times, and it's been there like that it's been like that both times I've been there. So it's not like, oh, they're just off display and we're just going to put whatever we've got. They don't have any Brettles pythons at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm. And I was walking there with Gendra and Cody and Pia and one of the head curators there who was walking with us. And I straight up told her, like, I'll give you guys a Brettles python if you want it. Please stop calling this Erie and Jaya carpet python a centralian python.
Abomination.
Yeah.
Do you know who I am?
And Dr. Booth has corrected me. Forgive me for my horrible, again, scientific ruling. It is SPP, not SSP.
Keep it up, Wolf.
Yeah, I'm batting 1,000 tonight, I know.
And Casey, how are you going to complain about that? But then you're going to buy inland crosses.
Not the same.
Not the same.
A little bit the same.
I'm not calling them.
Same.
I'm not calling them pure anything.
Exactly.
I called them liars and bracata as a joke, and people did not like that joke.
Yeah, he's not putting them in a zoo on display.
Yeah,
and calling them jungles. Right? He didn't go to Bronx Zoo, stick the hybrid in a cage, and put coastal carpet. That didn't happen. You know what I mean? That's like down the Miami Museum by me. They had a bunch of Florida native and like some Caribbean stuff. And it had one of the, I can't remember if it was a Puerto Rican boa or a Cuban boa, but it was a Brazilian rainbow, just straight up, just chilling there. And the label had the wrong picture and everything. It was great. Clearly not the animal on the label. So, leave Casey alone with this hybrid.
That shit'll buff out.
Yeah, right.
And I don't have a problem with hybrids. I mean, clearly I've actually got 2 different types of hybrids in my room right now.
It's good.
Well, but don't if you're gonna display a centralian python, display a centralian python.
Right. It's not like it's a species that's that rare that you couldn't acquire one.
Yeah.
Or maybe you had one and it passed away and you're waiting to get AZA approval to, import your CITES one animal. No, it's a freaking Brettles. You know what I mean?
Like I said, the curator of one of the alligator farm curators was walking with us, and I straight up told her, like, I'll donate one to this place. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Have a Brettles python in the Brettles python cage.
You know what you should do is you should go there again and like put like just
swap it out, just sneak it in there.
Well, no, I was gonna say just bring in like a small deli cup with like a yearling male and just be like, hey, by the way, here's my donation. Can you please fix this shit?
I'm sure there's all kind of red tape to stop that, but
yeah. And Doc Booth says he's currently sequencing DNA on pythons in the lab, and he's just ruffling my feathers. Thank you, Doc.
Twisting your nips.
I wasn't going to say that on air. But see, now I'm curious as to what pythons he's sequencing. Ooh.
Erie and Jaya crosses.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah.
I got my
all carpet pythons are the same. Like honestly, like I'm pretty much team all carpet pythons are the same, except for I think there should be a line with diamond pythons and inlands and the Brettles and the imbricata, but everything else I think Scott's onto something, saying they're pretty much all different races of one species.
Scott also says bring a label maker. That'd be so great if you had like one of those old school label makers, that you used to put on your lunchbox as a kid, and you just plaster over their sticker with Centrili or Irian Jaya carpet.
Just carpet python, Morelia variegata.
Just Harris and I with a little picture of Hoser giving the thumbs up.
Bill said that happened to us at the Brookfield Zoo with a mislabeled Angolan and my kid's erected docent who was trying to give a tour.
That's fantastic. That's
Wait,
awesome.
what do they have mislabeled as the Angolan python?
Probably a ball.
I mean, it's most likely. It'd been funnier though if they had a ball python label, or they had the ball python label for an Angolan python,
or it was like a giant rock.
Yeah,
and they were like, "This is an Angolan."
No, that would be hilarious though if they had an Angolan and called it a ball. That'd be fantastic.
They did. Bill said it was a ball.
No. I'm saying is the label said Python Regius and it was an Anchiates.
Yeah, it's the rare python mislabeled as the common python.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Anchiates, how are your Angolans, Casey?
Good. I have one that's being a little bit of a pain in the butt and has not eaten for me, but all the others have eaten me so far.
Gonna mail it to me and I'll get it going.
Yeah, we'll talk
those
about that.
Sweet.
Yeah, the yearling female I've gotten is actually she's putting on some size right now, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Is that the one you got in Daytona?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good shit. How's the color going?
Oh, she looks amazing. She's one of the better looking Angolan pythons that I've seen.
And she was more tans and taupes, right?
Yeah, there's really dark ones. Like a couple of the new ones that I've gotten in are very dark. One of them actually has almost a stripy pattern, which I think is kind of cool.
Nice.
But the original female I got is more of a brownish tan, and I think she's really pretty.
Nice. What were you gonna say,
They're
Justin?
attractive snakes.
They really are. They're very unique.
Yeah,
the pattern on them
bright
doesn't
colors,
look much like anything else.
But they're just like as is, just like Brettles. Like they're pretty snakes, just naturally.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's fun to pull them out. They don't act anything like ball pythons. They don't ball up like ball pythons do. They're more actually pretty aggressive. Some of them. No, they have a very typical python-esque attitude versus like my ball pythons. I have a few ball pythons around here, which if you touch a ball python the wrong way, it's going to roll up in a ball, as their namesake says. Angolans don't do that.
Well, was it? I don't know if it was Terry Burwell or if it was Brett Bender saying how they're basically macro Burmese pythons.
They are very closely related to African rock pythons.
Right, but I'm saying in their temperament in captivity, they're macro-sized berms, basically.
I've never really interacted with berms, but I guess I can see that. They are more closely related to Burmese pythons than they are to ball pythons, despite how their facial structure looks.
Are they kind of like, do they fit the same sort of spot as like Timor pythons do, where they're sort of that in between of retics and scrubs kind of thing?
I mean, genetically, they're really like Timor pythons are really kind of their own. They're very closely related to retics. They're kind of on that same branch, and then they kind of go off in the same spot. They're not really an in-between spot.
Lesser Sundays python.
Lesser Sundays python, yes.
Timor rolls off the tongue easier. Just
they
like
don't.
Speaking of Lesser Sundays,
they don't live on the island.
I understand that, but that's what they're known as.
Incorrect.
Yes, that is a bad common. Speaking of bad common names, Timor pythons.
There you go.
Should not be called Timor pythons. They are not found on Timor. Yeah. Macklot's pythons are found on Timor.
There you go.
Macklots.
Yeah.
I feel like that whole the Macklots and the Lesser Sundas is a classic example of Iceland, Greenland.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So
those damn Lacklands.
I'm actually getting some more Timorensis in this week. They're going to Billy's because that's what's going on. But I'm getting I know a guy who's getting out of reptiles right now, and he had a pretty nice group of blue tongue skinks. So I'm getting a couple new blue tongue projects that I've been looking into for a while.
Nice.
And he's got a pair of Timor pythons. So
send me the Strophosaurus.
I mean, I guess we can look into that.
Wait, you got Strophoras too?
I don't know. They are cool geckos.
But the
Those
individual,
are the spiny tail geckos, right? That's
yeah.
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, those are very cool geckos. But
There you go, a classic example of taxonomy when we probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So Justin obviously knows the individual you're acquiring these from.
I don't. I just saw the list. So.
Oh, interesting.
But I'm officially Brettl's-less. I sent Bill
Breaks my heart.
I sent Bill my female last week.
Yeah, I am also Brettl's-less now as well.
Breaks my heart, guys. I'm disappointed.
And it's not. I don't know how this happened. My 2018 female that Casey saw, that is a dwarf, for lack of a better word, a whopping 38 inches long and 4 years old. Out of the blue, found her upside down.
Damn.
So, yeah. Don't know what it was. Everything else is healthy as a horse, so knock on wood.
These Aggies are a freaking blast, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad I did that.
good. So am I. I think we all are.
Like, I feed them in the mornings, and so after I give them a few minutes to kind of warm up and recharge their battery, so to speak. Because I let them get pretty cool at night. I turn off all the lights and stuff, and let them warm up, and then I throw some crickets in there and just watch them hunt them down like little velociraptors. It's so freaking cool. They won't let me love them though.
They will. Give it time.
I just want to play with them, and they're like, nah. They'll let me get fairly close, and then they just, as soon as I touch their tail or something, they're like, nope, later.
So I had Ackies for a little while, and I had an adult male and like a younger, which we thought was a female. The male was pretty chill. The female was kind of like you're describing, where you could look at her and she'd be pretty confident, but if you ever tried to touch her, she would not be about it.
That's weird, because it's the female of the two that's definitely more skittish. Like, the male, I can pretty much touch him and then he runs. But the female, like, she doesn't really let me get terribly close to her, and she's the bigger of the two. It's interesting, but that, I guess that wouldn't surprise me. And kind of from talking to Alan, actually, now that I think about it, I think he's mentioned something similar where females tend to be a little more flighty, I guess.
I think whenever I get the space, I'm going to get a couple of just display monitors. I'm kind of fascinated by them. I don't want anything too big unless I can keep them outdoors. But Kimberly Rocks,
dude, all that
trees.
all the Odatria stuff is just freaking sweet.
Yeah, Kimberly Rocks are just an incredible animal.
Pilbarensis still does it for me.
I can respect that too.
Yeah. That's probably, honestly, that's the only monitor that I could see myself keeping in the distant future. I used to keep Molinas, and I had a lot of fun with them. And I used to keep a lot of Dumerals, and they were my favorite, man. And as ugly as they are, dude, those lizards were so smart and so much fun to feed and work with and play with. And just watching them hunt crustaceans underwater, like, just, it was awesome. So much fun. But I kind of have a thing for peach throats lately. I've seen some peach throats that are just great looking.
I like the roughnecks.
Roughnecks are cool.
Those are weird looking. I mean, they get too big for me to want to bother with them. But like the Tristis are really cool. Peacock Monitors are really cool. I don't even know what their scientific name is.
I can't remember it. It's Pokora. No, hold on. Scott's gonna yell at me.
I did get to play with a Black Dragon melanistic water monitor today.
Nice.
I've been helping Summer Grace Mitchell fix up Justin Kabilka's Bolin's cages. So in their special projects room, the room that's not ball pythons, they have a baby Black Dragon that's pretty cool. Like, you'll be able to open up the cage and it'll look around.
Offenberger, I feel.
Yeah, I just found that in I feel uber dumb. My apologies. Varandas are not my cup of tea.
I didn't even know he had black dragons.
He has one baby. So, they have a special projects room where there's like one or two, like they've got, I think, a trio of Leachianus geckos. They've got the Parabolans pythons. They have the black dragon. They have, I think, a Honduran milk snakes in there and some Cape file snakes.
Nice.
And what else? There is a super dwarf retic. I don't know if it's a pure island form or some kind of hybrid between a mainland and a super dwarf, but they've got one. But
Cool.
yeah, they've got a little get together coming up for some of their people in like 6 days. So we're working really hard to try to fix up the Bolin's Python display so they can show those guys off.
Nice.
It's super cool though. You'll be out there working, and the Bolins will see you're doing something. They'll come up and they'll kind of circle back and forth on the end of the enclosure they're in right now just to see what you're doing.
Nice. Very cool.
But so far, what we've been doing is just putting on I don't know how to describe it other than it's like a carpet with the texture of sandpaper on the back of the enclosure. It's just a background. So we've been working on securing those the last couple days. It's a little bit, that part's kind of slow work because it's like, okay, you have to use, we're using a double-sided banner tape, and we're using some like silicone foam. And once you use the silicone foam, you put it down, you got to let it dry overnight before you can really do anything with it. So
yeah. Still, it sounds awesome.
That's been fun.
Can't wait to see when it's done.
Yeah.
So
you got the pictures.
Vic wants to know what kind of Hondurans.
I don't really know much about Hondurans. They are very bright orange. So albinos or hypos. I don't really know which that would be. They're cool looking. They're traffic cone orange and have a nice little gray color to them. So
nice.
Cool, I don't know.
Man. And Vic, just for the record, Billy Hunt spoke to me about Hondurans, and you and I will link up later.
Correspond.
I'll slip in those DMs, Vic. Yeah, man. Hondurans are awesome.
Oh, I agree.
Honestly,
I mean, any orange snake to me is incredible. So,
well, like I was talking with Anna Maria the other day because we were just diving more into the whole Lamprepeltis complex, and because she's really getting into it, and I explained all milk snakes are king snakes, but not all king snakes are milk snakes, and like that old chestnut, and then I was talking to Billy about Vic and all his awesome Hondurans and everything, and I was thinking, man, the only milk snakes, like bona fide milks that I would be really considered would be obviously blacks because they're incredible.
Yeah.
And Hondurans. And I've kept Hondurans before. I had tangerines, and they're fun, man. And I feel like, I don't know why. Maybe this is just me. Maybe this is me being weird, but I think I like the blacks and the Hondurans more than the rest simply because they're more king snake. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
You know what I mean? I feel like they have more of the king snake vibe. I mean, again, I could be talking out of my butt, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. And then because I've been on a pyro kick lately, I started looking at like Utah banded milks, and like some of those things are just as impressive, if not more impressive than pyros.
Yeah, super
cool, man. And I think it also comes down, not to cut you off, Casey, sorry, but I also think it comes down to like
important.
It also comes down to like, I think this is my new learning adventure because I don't know anything about it. So it's like fresh and exciting,
Isn't it? Something oddly enjoyable about it.
But I'm sorry, what were you saying, Kombucha Boy?
I don't actually remember, but no, I was going to bring up, speaking of like North American colubrid stuff, that Yucatan Pituophis, whatever that was, that Chris posted the other day in one of our group chats. That thing is incredible. Yeah. I'm really into the Pituophis stuff these days. I want to upgrade mine. I've got mine in racks right now. I don't fully like that. I really want to move them into enclosures, but I'm afraid with how food aggressive they are, that they're just going to spend the whole time, like whenever I walk in the room, they're just going to slam their face into the glass over and over and over again. So
I don't know, man. I feel like you're right in the way you feel, but I think if there's enough decor in there and substrate, I don't think it's a problem.
I mean, these things, they're like, I've got the Sonorans as far as the adults go, and then I've got the Mexican pines. They're just babies right now. But man, when you open up the tubs with the Sonorans, it's scary because they know, like, they're very aware of their surroundings. So you'll open the door, and a third to 2/3 of their body are gonna fly out of there, coming right for your face.
Like a Jack in the Box.
Yes, and it's not just like, oh, I'll open a little bit and they'll come out. It's like this: as soon as enough of this tub is opened up that they can come out, they're coming out. And they know exactly where your face is.
Yep.
So, like, I want them to be in big, like, they're an active snake. I feel like they should have some more room than what I've got them in right now. But I don't want them smashing their face against glass all day. So I got to figure out how to, a fine balance between that, because they definitely need to be upgraded from where they're at just because of what they are, I don't
know. I feel like too it depends on how much time you have in front of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that too.
Like I feel that if they were in a larger enclosure with a glass front or some kind of visual front, and behind, like across the aisle from them, so to speak, is a rack with like 100 babies, and you have to stand there for 2 hours doing your 100 babies, that might not be the most conducive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the environment outside of the cage too, if that makes any sense.
So what I've thought about doing, and this is for, more than just them, I've thought about doing for a couple things. Worked in the sign company, we would do one-sided glass displays.
Yeah.
So like if you're riding in your truck, you can have your banner on the back of your truck, but you can still look through the back and make sure there's nobody behind you when you're backing up.
Sure.
So I've thought about doing a version of that on a snake cage, but I don't know how their vision works as far as that kind of thing goes. So,
well, I was talking to, I don't know if it was me and Justin and Billy on here one night, but when Marcus and I did the sun gazer enclosures at the museum, Marcus had put in a piece of one-way mirrored glass inside the enclosure. So you were technically looking through two pieces of glass, but when the lizards went in their burrow, all they saw was themselves, and they didn't react. It's not like a beta fish or anything. They didn't react, but we could look in there and they'd never see us. And I thought about getting like a film that they put in off high-rise offices and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper than doing legit blinds or tinting an entire, high-rise building. And they just like a stick-on film, and one side's mirror and the other side is completely see-through. So I thought about getting those films and trying them on like the front of a vision cage,
Yeah. And again, sometimes you wonder, like, okay, does a human optical illusion work on a reptile?
That's true. Or would the animal do like a beta fish and see itself and
get way more stressed out?
And just basically just keep fighting itself,
Which I don't know if that'd be an issue for a female, but for a male, that might be very stressful for.
Or something like a cobra that stands there to defend itself, and the other snake isn't backing down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Gonyosoma just essed up, or Boiga essed up, just like, what are you doing, boy? I don't know. I have to test it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something I've thought about, because, like, I do think they need more room. I just do.
Yeah.
Like, I think
for sure.
Palubrids are very mobile animals. They're active
Especially
hunters.
the bigger ones.
Yeah. And like
Homa, Ptias, Panther, Pituophis, Drymarchon.
Yeah. Oh, thank God I
Definitely.
never kept Drymarchon in tubs, man. Oh, what a job that would be.
I mean, just as far as Pituophis goes, this little southern that I have, I'm not even little's kind of a joke, because this thing is so big for its age. It's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, it's a year old, right?
Not even. No, we're talking like less than 6 months, and this thing's
Wow.
eating. This thing could eat hoppers. Like,
Nice.
Came out the egg literally the size of like a yearling corn snake. Just ridiculous.
Awesome.
And about twice the weight. And I have, so that now that female Brettles is with Bill, I have an open 4-foot cage, and so I'm planning on either come spring, putting a pair of the biggest pair of Bairds in that, and then eventually probably putting her in it, because she's a freaking eating machine, dude. Like, I feel like you could feed them every day and it's just going to go right through them. Like, they're just going to use it and it's going to be pushed through. And like, this is going to, it's going to be a big snake. You know, the parents were like 6 foot plus animals, just monster pines. So definitely something that I want to give her more room, because I know that that's a snake that's going to kind of require it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I don't know what the deal is lately, dude. I get on these trains of thought and then they just kind of float off.
Do you guys remember, though, the species that Chris told is Baja something, right? Like Cape Baja.
The Centicolus?
No. It was not. It was a Pituophis species.
Was it those darker red
they're
ones?
like a reddish black.
Look like the Mexicans, but with the much darker, deeper red in the front half.
Yes.
I don't.
And I think there were some kind. He said Baja something.
I don't know.
They were really cool looking, and he said they were the smallest of the Pituophis.
Really?
So again, I don't remember what species. I guess you can just Google like which Pituophis is the smallest, and you'll figure out which one it is.
Are they subs of the Deppy?
That I don't remember.
Okay.
All I remember is he said it was Cape and then Baja, and they were the smallest of the Pituophis, and I thought they looked incredible. So if somebody in the chat knows what we're talking about, we can look it up, what they look like, because I was a really big fan of them. You know, really, I'm a desert python guy, so of course, like desert North American colubrids and boa species are really catching my eye right now because they fit in well with kind of what I already know.
I'm looking through pictures right now on the group chat to see where he posted them.
So Bill says it's a Cape Baja gopher vertebralis.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
that sounds right. Yeah,
that was it.
Cool.
So yeah, if you can just look up.
My internet's acting weird because of this Google thing. It's not letting me. Let's try this. Pituophis.
I don't think it was Chris. I think it was Mike Kosicki who was talking about those, I thought.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But yeah, I saw the picture and was like, oh, that's an amazing looking snake. I've not heard of those before.
Here we go. We got some Google pictures here.
Yeah, very reminiscent of a Janai, but
yeah, like I said, like more
red.
Contrast, darker, like in that front. Apparently, they're like normal sized for Pituophis, like compared to corn snakes and stuff. Like babies actually come out a normal colubrid size, and not these freaking Monstar, Space Jam, fucking neonates that come out all jacked and diesel. Oof.
Now, obviously, this picture is
doctored,
or not even doctored. It could just be an old photo with bad contrast, but still awesome looking.
Yeah, I really think all the Pituophis from Mexico, honestly, most of the colubrids from Mexico are incredible looking, especially like the northern, Cenicolus, the Janai, that kind of stuff. I'm really crushing on that stuff lately as far as snakes go.
Mexican Bairds are probably my favorite out of the Baird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Just something about that gray head that just cuts off so sharply to everything else. I don't know.
Honestly, dude, Cenicolus, I need to see it in person, man. I've never seen one in person.
I messaged Casey Lasik when he had eggs. I need to message him back because he told me he would sell me some. So
there you go. Cool. Definitely
Yeah,
need to
and
play with
I'll.
yours.
Are you coming to Billy's thing on November 13th? The
Is
Tampa
that-
show. I'm coming down.
So I'm gonna try and come. I talked to Billy. I'm gonna try and come the Saturday night into the Sunday, but I know that like we can't party till all hours of the evening because he's gonna work the show the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean we're not gonna do that.
So I got to figure out if I may just drive up for the Sunday to hang out and then drive home Sunday night. I don't know yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I can't take the whole weekend off, so we'd make do what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on coming up that way. So,
All right, yeah, I'll definitely try and at least come for the Sunday. So,
yeah.
So
he's got a few,
Casey, you mentioned something yesterday about wanting to talk about sort of room dynamics or something along those lines.
This is I guess like a snake room PSA stuff.
sure.
I ran into an issue. I was on the phone with Ryan Cox when this happened too, which is why he was planning on coming on with us, but it just didn't work out today. I had an interesting issue in a new room because I moved about 8 months ago or so, however long it was. Turns out in the room I'm at, if you turn on the heat, which I did about 2.5 weeks ago, it will drop your humidity from 60% to 25%.
Oh yeah.
And it dried out all of my water bowls, and I was not aware of this. So, I'm on the phone with Ryan, we're talking about whatever, and I check on my male Sanzinia, who, along with having his water bowl dried out for several days, had not been eating because I'm getting ready to cool everything down. So, go in, take a look at him, and he is not looking good at all. Like, clearly dehydrated, probably a little bit emaciated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, something's wrong. So take him, let him soak for a couple hours, put in 2 water bowls in his cage. And about 2-3 days later, I fed him, and now he was great. But, little reptile keeper PSA, if this is the time of year where everybody's starting to turn their heat on, watch your humidity, because your water bowls are going to dry out way faster than they usually do, just because everything's drier.
Yeah, it's crazy how it just zaps that humidity like that.
So
the infamous basement nosebleed. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did he turn around though? Like once he got some
Oh
water?
yeah, like instantly. I put him in the water and he was able to drink, and especially when I gave him a little bit of food. It's kind of a mixture of a couple things where this is the time of year where I stop paying attention to my adult stuff because I'm getting ready to stop feeding them and kind of get them ready for the cool down. Since I've been working over at Just Kabilka's for a little while, I've been feeding my animals mostly pre-killed stuff. So in the past, what I would do was I would let them soak in water either for a few hours or even overnight, which makes the prey items have a lot more hydration than just a straight up pre-killed rat.
Oh yeah.
So they're not getting that extra hydration from that. And I turned the heat on, and everything got way drier. So again, my room's usually like 55-60% humidity. Now it's like 25-30% humidity. I'm going to get a new humidifier coming in pretty soon. I wasn't paying attention because I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a PSA for all you guys out there is once you're starting to turn on the heat, watch your humidity because things can start going pretty wrong pretty fast.
Yeah.
Now's the time to put Govee and sensor push monitors on your Amazon wish list for Santa to bring you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I noticed that that the season had changed, even down here in South Florida, where we live in literally the soup bowl.
Mm-hmm.
My Bovida packs dried up, and it's like they're in airtight containers, but the pressure changes, the humidity in the room drops. It's not completely air sealed because it has a pressure valve on it, or it's wooden, So another indicator.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I know, like, you say, oh, you're not supposed to talk about your failures. I wouldn't really consider this a failure. This is just I got negligent for a little while, and it could have been bad if I'd let it go on for another week or two.
Sure.
But I caught it before it was really an issue. So, if you're in a place where you're starting to turn on your heat, check on your animals a little bit more, because things are about to start getting a lot drier.
And Casey, I commend you for telling that story, because you yourself even said oh, you're not supposed to talk about your failures. First of all, I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as a learning experience. Even if it was a poor experience, it was still a learning experience, and it's something that you'll be mindful of for the future. And you telling your story can help out countless individuals that have the opportunity to listen to this, and that's wonderful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, I have no problem talking about my quote unquote failures, because I don't have regrets about it. I mean, I may regret, the way I did it, but at the same, I don't regret that it happened, because it makes me who I am today, and it's all a learning experience. I mean, something as stupid as Dr. Crawdaddy told me with my baby Pyros. He's like, dude, that setup looks great, but see that paper towel roll? He says, cut that thing in thirds, flatten them out, and make crevices out of toilet paper rolls. And I was like, that's brilliant. So I save every single paper towel roll, cut it in thirds, every single toilet paper roll, and I crush them down flat, and I just stack them as if they're pieces of shale, but they're cardboard, so they're light. And dude, the king snakes go in and out of them every single night. You can see where they move them around and stuff. And something that was me not knowing what I'm doing correctly, and then having just out of the box thought from Doc, it's a learning experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, I mean, my usual, I'm getting a little lazy with looking at stuff just because that's the time of year.
Sure.
But, it's also a complete change in the rhythm of the room, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
Yeah. You turn from AC to heat, everything's going to get way drier.
Yeah. I noticed that because I finally got night drop modules for my Vivarium electronics units, and I have it set for, on this particular rack with the Cerastes in it, and forgive me if I've told the story already, but I have it set for 16-degree drop after 8 p.m., right? And I noticed it wasn't doing it. It was just holding temp. And I was like, why is this doing this? And then I came in the room on my day off at 2 in the afternoon. Excuse me. And I noticed that the probe is, all right, so the thermostat's set at 90. The probe says 81, but the room is 88.
Which should be impossible. Yeah.
Right, which should be impossible. So I temp gunned the actual heat tape, and the heat tape, when I temp gunned it, said 81. And I was like, this is peculiar. And I realized that either the way that the airflow works in that rack, because it is slots in the back and I'm using Cambro tubs, the inside of the tub was 88 on the hot side. The probe read 81. The panel was 81, but the room was 88 because heat rises, it's upstairs, and I have other lamps in the room cooking. So because the Cambro tubs are so thick, or maybe because of the airflow, the way that I drilled the holes, whatever, I don't know, I have this anomaly. So now I have to feather those other heat emitters so that I can get the rack up in temp, but keep the room at a normal temperature. And I still have to,
yeah.
This was a couple days ago I found this. So this is I'm very interested as to how I'm going to make this work. I mean, the snakes don't care. They're happy. They're eating and pooping,
Yeah, it's kind of weird where you figure out weird little tricks like that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that wood mites, which come in with cypress mulch and some of the, I'm kind of a Home Depot herper. We've told this story before.
We all are, man.
Where, I'm not going to go out and buy a bunch of cocoa chips when I can go get cypress mulch from the hardware store for way less money, and it works just as well, if not better.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that wood mites, which come in with some of the cypress mulch, they attack blue tongue skinks after they've mated, because blue tongues are very they're very rough with each other.
Right.
When they bite, they make a little bit of like little scars on the back of the females.
Sure.
Wood mites will infest those scars. They won't infest anything else, but they will definitely jump on the scars of those.
Wow.
And weirdly, bamboo rat snakes. Bamboo rat snakes will
Really?
get infested by wood mites. Other snakes, other python, other colubrids and pythons won't do it. Something about bamboo rat snakes attracts wood mites, and I don't know why that is. So that's something you have to be very careful with those animals.
It's because they're made of bamboo.
Absolutely. But like the wood mites will leave everything else alone. You may see one like crawling on something every once in a while, but it's not a big deal. They'll like make little colonies on top of bamboo rat snakes.
Wow.
And it's really gross when you see it.
I can imagine.
I don't know why that is. It's really strange, but the wood mites like bamboo rat snakes.
Just for the record, Casey's talking about wood mites, not wood lice, which are springtails.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And wood mites and snake mites are different. Wood mites, they're significantly larger than snake mites. They're kind of like a tannish brown versus a snake mite, which is black. There are red mites in snakes too. I don't know if you see them in the stuff you catch, Phil, out in Florida, but we have red mites that will infest. You see them a lot on black rat snakes and black racers. You'll see like little red mites on them. But wood mites usually just eat mold on wood. But for some reason, they like bamboo rat snakes. So you have to be careful about that.
I wonder if it has some kind of, whether it be a pheromone from the bamboo rats or it's a musk or them swimming through their urates, something like that. I don't know. But the only red mites I've seen, honestly, are on South American field collected iguanas. We used to get in, shipments from Guatemala and Honduras and just buckets and buckets of green iguanas back in the day. And they would have little red specks on them. And you'd scrape the speck with your finger and it was a mite,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same species. Maybe it is. Who knows?
I don't know. Will you see them like just walking around on the pavement sometimes? They're like a little pinkish red mite.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those. I've just not seen them on a critter. Maybe I'm not looking.
Yeah. You see them a lot on black racers. I don't know why that is. And I don't even know if they're a bad thing on them. But if you catch a black racer and you really look them over up here, you'll see little red mites on them.
I think I found those on yellow rats before.
Interesting. Vic wants to know how my baby pyros, if they're eating. The male is a savage. He will literally eat anything I put in front of him. And he's not growing like a weed, but he's normal and healthy looking. The female has yet to eat for me. I got her at Daytona, but she's grown and gotten heavier. So I'm probably going to try, for those of you that are in the Snakes and Stogies Facebook group, I posted a video of a guy in Europe with a red-bellied black snake doing the old switcheroo, where you start with a gecko tail and you lure the snake over to the frozen thawed pinky, and right before the snake bites the gecko tail, you move real quick and it bites the pinky instead. I'm probably going to try that next with the baby pyro, but I actually have a picture of the female just to show you that, like, I mean, I got her in August. August 20th was Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
And she's literally gotten bigger and fatter.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a classic pyro thing, like she knows winter is coming. And I mean, I don't know, but she looks good. And she's cruising the cage every day. She poops every so often, but nothing really comes out. It's just a little speck, So
looking good.
Looking good. Looking thick for her age. I'm wondering too, is if I should cool her just a little bit, and then even before winter's over, just bring the temp back up and see if that instigates a feed. So I'm probably going to try the switcheroo tail trick first and go from there.
I had one baby Baird's out of that clutch that I hatched that has just not wanted to eat since, when did those hatch? I think those hatched in August too.
Okay.
And it finally ate a pinky on its own the other day, completely of its own volition, which was really
Alive
surprising.
or dropped?
Drop fed.
Nice.
And I periodically have tried pinkies. Otherwise, I've just been throwing some tails in it here and there. And I was surprised when I opened the tub like 15 minutes after I dropped it in there, and it was gone. So,
and hopefully that's the start of her eating.
Yeah, I think it will be. It is one of the females too, ironically.
Nice. I was gonna say, did you try tuna water yet or no?
No. I mean, all the other bears, they're rocking and rolling, man. It's just this one since the jump has been a pain with food, which is kind of odd because those are not known to be hard to get going. But
yeah,
I guess there's always going to be one in the group.
Yeah, there's always going to be that one. So, baby colubrids, damn it.
So, last week I tried to feed 20 baby Brettles for the first time. And I thought I was going to get 100%. I have not gotten 100% yet. I got 18 out of 20.
Nice.
It's like the last two, I almost think I was a little bit impatient with them because I was getting cocky. But it was 2 different clutches worth. So I did get 100% on one clutch, which I'm kind of proud of, but it was a very small clutch.
Okay.
But that's
still good.
Pretty par for the course for first time trying to get Brettles to eat. Usually if you have 19, 20, 21, 22, you'll have 2 or 3 that hold out. And that's what I had this time. I was really hoping I would get 100% to eat for the first time.
How long did you wait before you attempted feed?
This was actually a pretty long wait. This was like a month. So that wasn't really on purpose. This was just I was going to Tinley and I was going to a couple I had a couple things going on where I just put off feeding that week because if they regurge, I'm going to come back and everything's going to be gross. So I kind of just put things off until I knew that I could kind of keep an eye on stuff.
Sure.
But it didn't really change anything. Usually I'm trying to get Brettles to eat. I'll do live fuzzies the first time. And usually, I usually have 1 or 2 that don't eat. And believe it or not, they seem to prefer just drop feeding.
Okay.
So, in other words, drop feeding frozen thawed, just getting them really hot and just putting it in front of them and leaving it overnight. That seems to work for the 1 or 2 that don't eat. I've yet to have one that just refused.
Okay.
But, for this group, what I'll probably do is every couple days, every other day or so, I'll unthaw about 5 and just see who wants to eat.
Nice.
And slowly train them how to eat food, basically.
Yeah. That's awesome that they just take the drop. That's awesome, even if it's live. I got the pair of Nova Guineas from Billy, and the female was eating great, and the male was not, and the male was not looking too hot. So I wound up giving the male back to him for him to kind of nurture, and he got it eating literally the night that I gave it back to him. I think you were there. I think when I brought it back.
I think it was.
Yeah. What's that, Justin?
I said, of course.
Yeah. And what's that?
Oh no, I was gonna say there's tricks with carpets.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I tried. Billy told me his first trick he always does is tapping him on the nose with a prey item. Didn't work. I tried a gauntlet of things, but I gave it back to him. The thing eats for him, no problem. And then my female stops eating. I gave him the male. I had the female stops eating, and I'm like, man, this is not good. What the hell? But I wasn't worried because she'd put on good weight from all the feedings prior to this interaction. And weeks go by. This thing is not eating. I'm trying live. I'm trying frozen. I tried scented. I tried everything. I'm like, what happened? You were eating frozen thawed fuzzies. What happened? So I wound up thawing out too many mice. I wasn't counting right. And I went to give it to Subak. Subak didn't want it. She was like, I'm full. Get out of here. So I was like, let's see what it does. And I put that frozen thawed adult mouse on hemostats and danced it in there. And that carpet, you'd swear that carpet baby saw a ghost. and she freaked out, stood up like a Gonyosoma, and started striking. And on the third strike, hit it and wrapped it. And I was like, "That's it. That's the trick." So I let her eat it. I waited till she pooped everything out. She dropped a horse-sized turd, and I waited a week, and then I did the same exact thing, and she did it again. So that's going to be the trick from now on. Just
And
give
if
her
it feels like that means you're going to grow faster. So
yeah, something like that.
the biggest trick I've noticed with carpets is if you let them hang. In other words, you put just maybe their last third or just their tail hanging down from the tub, and you just pester them. In other words, with they're essed up, like in their strike position,
like an
kind of like tap one side, and just alternate,
mm-hmm.
and just annoy them, and they'll bite. And if they bite to the point where they're hanging, you almost see the little gears in their heads turn.
Nice.
Where it's like, oh, I have this food in my mouth, and you just got to stand still and let them figure it out.
Sure.
And they'll hold with the food in their mouth, and you just kind of got to wait. And you almost see them thinking it all through, and then the gear will turn, and they'll start to slowly swallow. And another thing I've noticed too is once they get up to about the shoulder of the mouse, then you can kind of take their body and just flip them back in there. The shoulder seems to be the point of no return as far as swallowing goes. Not always, but like 95% of the time.
And you never had a baby do the flip throw?
Jungle carpets are the worst about that.
Okay.
Where I have literally had jungles hold, like just hang down with the mouse in their mouth for like 30 minutes and just fling it off. They're the worst about it. I hate jungle carpet pythons.
Yeah.
But that is one of the most like consistent things I've seen with stubborn carpets. And usually if you only have to do that for like 4 or 5 meals, and then they figure it out, like, oh, this thing in my mouth is food, I'm just gonna go ahead and swallow it. But the hanging trick is definitely the most success I've had with carpet pythons.
Okay. Cool,
like,
man.
And just sitting on the ground Indian style is the best way to do it, because then you can just
trick.
Yeah. Like let them, they'll grab it, they'll hold on to it, and then you just kind of sit still and let them figure it out. Let them swallow to the point that they're a little bit past the shoulder, and then just flip them back in and close it really fast. And they'll usually figure it out.
Yeah, I've done a crisscross applesauce more times than I could like to admit with baby snakes. Just sitting there on the floor, deli cup, tweezers, just oof. Memories.
I mean, it's
painful
fun.
Memories.
Like those first, I don't know, those first 3-4 meals on a whole bunch of carpet pythons, that can be a solid like 8-10 hour day. Just
I believe it.
Annoying carpet pythons, getting them to eat.
Yeah. The things we love, right?
I mean, it's fun, but it's very rewarding too when you spent those 6 to 10 hour days annoying carpet pythons, and then you start going down the line and they all eat.
Yeah. Yeah, and so Bill says, this is why I like lizards. Baby lizard just means smaller bugs. Bugs run, lizards chase, done. And I got to say, man, I can confidently say that any baby lizard I've personally produced, that's literally just what happens. So.
Yeah. It is really rewarding to do lizard things too.
Yeah. Yeah, now that I don't have that female Brettles anymore, I have that extra Exoterra, and I'm really thinking about. I think what I need to do is the Cordillus that I have now, I need to separate, because my 2-year-old, they're almost 3 years old now, are at that age now where things are starting to notice each other, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I think I may want to just take the male out and separate him and leave him be on his own, and then just introduce him when the time is right. When in the past, I've just kept pairs together. So I think now I have that extra Exoterra. I might as well. It's at my disposal. So plus, it gives me an excuse to make another little African display with the grass and the rocks and shit. So.
And I do really
Hell
dig the displays you've been doing with the ring calls and stuff like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I do. I need to. So I've been not stealing. I've been knowingly taking styrofoam from work whenever we get packages in. Like we got a printer toner cartridges. You know, it comes in that really dense foam to make it a square. Well, I take that foam home because that foam, it's already super dense and like good and perfect for carving. And I'm sure my roommates wants to kill me, but I have all this styrofoam just stacked up in the living room. It's unsightly. But I need to like get to carving and start to get these things going. And like, I have so many great ideas for styrofoam rock foundations. And like, you know, Dustin is a hardcore inspiration. You know what I mean? With all of his gecko stuff that he's been doing, all the foam and the grout and whatever else he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh man, and like I get these ideas in my head and I'm like, man, that would look so cool. And I'm like, but it's an elapid and it's gonna shit all over it and knock it over. So I still gotta play
always something to think about when you do a display enclosure.
Yeah.
How easy to clean is this going to be?
Yeah. Or better yet, how easy is it to remove the animal? You know, because you could put the animal in there and the animal lives perfectly fine and doesn't mess up the decor at all. But the minute you go to like take it out, and it's like, no, I'm staying right here. You know, and I was over Henry's yesterday, and he was feeding Mango, and Mango puts a loop around a living tree. He's like a little tree in there, and just uproots it. Just like an elephant trunk picking up a palm tree. It just uproots the thing. And Henry's going, no, you dumbass. So things like that crossed my mind. But I did find, pardon me. I did find that if you're planting wheatgrass and you let it grow to its full stalk length and it starts to wilt, if you completely let the soil dry out, the plant fully dries out and doesn't die. It just goes in that dormant stage like winter. And now what I want to do is I want to put it inside something porous and then put that inside of a styrofoam display. So it is the living plant. I can water it just enough to keep it alive, but not enough that it's going to rot or not enough that it's going to want to die off to restart its cycle. So now I have like dead grass in my house, if that makes sense.
So that's with the wrinkles, right?
Yeah, ideally that was the goal. Yeah. I've been using it with the Cordellas too, because they freaking love it. They like run underneath it, they compact it down, and like they bask on top of it like it's a little canopy.
So with those, are you just leaving the wheatgrass outside, or are you using
no, I'm
like
doing
a window, or are you using grow light?
No lights at all. Just sorry, man. I gotta clear my throat.
No, you're good.
I'm literally just keeping it in the house at room temperature and whatever lights are on at the time. So like, if we're eating dinner in the living room and the light's on, that's the only light it's getting. And it literally grows like weeds, and it gets to this big, pretty bush, and then a week later it falls over and dies. So I realized that if I let it dry out, it'll stay wherever it was. And then if I add more water, it'll perk up and then die. So I'm trying to feather it and kind of see where I can keep it. And then I have a friend who he germinates wheatgrass for house cats and pets and stuff, like cat grass, you know?
Yeah.
And he says that if you keep cutting it about an inch above the root, it'll just keep growing and just keep growing and just keep growing. You just trim it and grows and trim it and grows, just like your hair on your head. So I don't know if I want to do that though, because for 2 weeks it'll be unsightly. You know what I mean? It'll look like,
you know, I mean, it's like a 1 week haircut. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't know. I'm still playing with it. And then of course I bought fake grass. It's supposed to be African spearpoint and it looks similar, but I can't get African spearpoint that's not a giant bush for your yard, you know?
Yeah.
I can't get real African spear
Just
point
shove it in there.
that's terrariumable. And I got fake ones. So if this whole wheatgrass thing fails, however I plant it into the fake styrofoam rocks that I'm going to make, like the pottery I'm going to do it so that I can just rip that out, stick the fake one in, pour some fake or some, dirt to cement it in place, and I'll just use the fake grass. Screw it. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it looks really good.
Yeah, and I can't speak highly enough about petbackdrops.com. They have no idea who I am, so this is not like a paid endorsement or anything.
It could be. If they choose to, it could be.
Yeah, exactly. But they do a self-adhesive background that's vinyl, it's UV resistant, and it adheres to the back inside of the enclosure. They do vision cages, PVC, glass, whatever, and you can send them your picture that you took and upload it and size it out. And all you do is just spritz a little water on the wall and just smoothen it out, use a credit card, and it comes out so good. It looks so great. I mean, here's this enclosure is not nearly done because I still have them on paper, but look at this. Look at this guy.
Can I get a picture of you as my background for one of them?
If you want, absolutely.
The one of you with in the shop?
No, not at all.
That's the one picture they won't do. Any other picture, they'll do it.
Yeah, right? Bear with me while I send this to myself because this Google sucks.
I'm confused about the Google thing. Are they trying to get you to use Chrome and you don't want to?
No, I'm on Chrome. I have to use Chrome for StreamYard. What it is this computer's old as dirt, and it won't let me update to the new iOS because it's so old. It doesn't have the ability to do it. So because I haven't updated, it thinks that every website that's not, the Google homepage is going to give me viruses. And it's like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I trust this website. No, we don't trust it, so we're not going to let you do it. So here is my big male. His name is Arnold. With his Arnold with his Drakensberg background. And obviously thank you. My lighting is a little off. He's got he has a 50 watt Zilla microhalogen, and then he's got a 5.0 Zoomed. So majestic. A 5.0 Zoomed UVB. And eventually, if I do decide to put the live plants in there, I have the Zilla micro LED plant bulbs. I don't know what the percentage or wattage or whatever it is, but I have 2 of them to set up for these enclosures in case I do want to put the grass alive in there and kind of go from there. But that's a stick-on picture, a good acquaintance in South Africa took the photo and sent it, and I think it looks great.
Yeah,
maybe I'm biased. I don't know.
I think it looks great too.
And I mean, I told him, I was like, look, I'm specifically looking for landscape photos, but even if I zoom in, if the lighting was right, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm off my rocker.
I think it looks pretty good. I do think it's crazy though how much South Africa looks like, the Wyoming, Montana area.
Yeah, I was just gonna say northeastern California.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate, judging by the temperatures and stuff like that. But
yeah, man, it's all a work in progress, always.
How random question about ringcalls. How common are they in their native habitat? How likely are you to find one if you were to go there?
So it depends on the time of the year, and it depends on the region you're in. So in the eastern regions of the Eastern Cape province, they're not as common unless it is autumn into winter. And then they're on the move doing whatever. In Gauteng and like Johannesburg area, they're super common. But again, like autumn into winter, and even in winter, they're everywhere. People have them in their houses all the time. And then you go into like KNZ, the KwaZulu-Natal, it's again seasonal, but there's pictures of, like, I mean, I've showed them on here, like the phenomenal photographer Tyler Ping. He's in I want to say he's in Durban, 2 hours northwest of Durban, and it's a band of Renkals basking on top of snow. And it's like, I mean, I have to show you that picture. And I know I've shown it on here before, and people are probably like, we're sick of the snow rink. But it's just such an amazing photo. I can't not share it every time I think about it.
I mean, it's a snake on snow. That's cool no matter what, let alone a Rinkals.
Right? And I wish I have to contact him and find out exactly like what time of year it was and exactly where it was, because when I saved the picture, him and I hadn't spoken like on Instagram or anything yet, but like that's one of my favorite pictures of all time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, how great is that picture? And you can feel the overcast, high, humid, rainy, cold, the cold rain of this picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of snow we get here. That's
just that
just like light dusting that turns into ice really quickly.
Yeah, because it rained just after it snowed. And you look at how dark the animal is, and it makes me. I wish I knew what that animal looked like 6 months from this photo.
Yeah, that's the North Georgia snow.
Yeah, exactly. And you see these mountains in the background, and it's so difficult because there are foothills in this area that are only 1,200 foot high, but like I'm pretty sure this area, the max is like 4,000 or 5,000 feet. So who knows how high up, in theory, how high up the snake is.
Joke's on you. That photo was taken in Gwinnett County.
Right? Yeah. So, but this is by far my favorite Renkals picture I've ever come across. It's so awesome. You know, and I have an animal that looks just like this, and I can't wait for. I'm probably not going to do it this year just because I'm still getting my feet wet. But next year, when I finally decide to pair stuff up and I have my chiller worked out better, I can't wait to see if there is a seasonal color morph or color change, even if I newt one, because you just don't get the observations that much. Like I talked to Dane, who bred them this past year, and he said that there really wasn't any color change. But at the same time, he really didn't check on them through brumation. So I mean, look at them that way, you know?
Yeah.
But the quest for knowledge continues, man.
You got you a nice group of them.
I do. And like, dude, and that's the worst part is, so I've got 6, 7, 8, not 7, 8, 9, 10. No, I've got 5, 6, 7, 8. No. Yeah, I've got 5.4, right? And I want to get a 10th one. Does that make sense? I just like, I want to have a 10th one to say I have a 10th one, but, and I have access to a few of them, but I don't, because I know that in my hopes and dreams, I'm going to produce them myself, and then I'm going to be inundating with the fucking things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they have like 60 babies at a time, right? Like they have a lot of babies.
No. I mean, the average is less than 20. The average is no different than most snakes under 20. It's usually around 15 to 18. Sometimes it's even less. And for example, like the ones that come out of extreme eastern Zimbabwe, like right on the Mozambique border, they only have like 7 or 8 babies. That's it. So
that's pretty manageable. What was I thinking of that has 60 babies though? I heard somewhere they have like
they can. The whole thing is like if you Wikipedia it or Google it, it's like Hemacatus can have 15 to 61 babies. It's like, who the hell came up with that number? That makes no sense. You know?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Puff adders, I have seen a puff adder drop 64 offspring. So, but that animal was also over 6 foot and probably about that wide.
The freaking mothership.
It was legit the mothership. So her boyfriend could literally ride on top of her. So
Probably
Yeah,
did.
that was a Hurricane Wilma breeding. That's what that was. Yeah, it was. Oh my God, we need to pack up these snakes immediately. Well, crap. Put those two giant puff adders together in a vision cage, and we'll tape a piece of wood to the front glass and throw it in the storeroom with everything else. And 2 days later, man, that girl looks like she's might be ovulating.
Weird.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So to breed them, are you just going to do kind of a typical cool down period?
On the rinks.
Yeah, on the rinks.
So, just talking to Dane, because he's the only guy that I know of recently that I can talk to about breeding and pick his brain a little bit. Because everyone that I've known in the past was decades ago or in country, which, let's be real, it doesn't count, you know?
Yeah.
And the European guys and gals, it's difficult because, yeah. What I think I want to do is, I think I want to do basically confined compartments. The animal can have room to move, but not much. And that way I can slide it into like a rack system, essentially, in the wine cooler. And what I want to do is I want to put, for lack of a better word, a night drop module on the wine cooler so that I can fluctuate the temperature, you know what I mean? And get it to spike during the day and then come down at night and get those highs and those lows. But from what I gathered, Dane did not do that. Dane just kept him at like 55 for the allotted time. And at one point he was like, oh man, I think it's been too long. I got to check on him. And he opens the door to like find a dead snake. And it's not. The snake's just doing laps in the tub. Like, it's freezing in here. Get me out, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, those keeled animals, man, they handle that cold. You know, those
because like looking at the environment, like what little I know about South Africa, it sounds a lot like something that, you know, it sounds like something that's kind of my bread and butter.
Sure.
You know, something that kind of needs that, maybe not quite typical, but a little bit colder than a typical python or boa.
Yeah.
Cool down period.
Yeah. And it's very interesting to see how the banded phenotypes are more cold and more grassland, because
Interesting. Okay.
whether it be a lightening of color, and at the same time it's maneuvering itself through the grass like a zebra trying to break up the pattern, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at some of the stuff that's more northern and they're jet black, and you wonder, like, is that a temperature thing or?
Well, look at the timbers we have here.
Exactly. Yeah, but it would be the opposite. You see what I'm saying? Because the more north you go in South Africa, essentially the warmer it's getting, the closer you're getting to the equator.
Right.
But they're more black.
The concept's the same.
The concept's the same. Yeah. So this is all stuff that I'm trying to figure out and trying to learn and doing my best to be a half-ass non-academic. So
I do wonder that though about the southern African rock pythons. You know, the ones that are pretty much or not pretty much, they are extinct in the United States hobby.
Yeah.
People just couldn't really figure out how to breed them. For one, it's a rock python. You know, how many people are really trying to breed rock pythons? But for two, I wonder if they required more of a cooling seasonal cycle than what people are used to, and just they weren't successful.
It could very well be. You know, and then I just think, like, I have a lot of photos. I won't inundate everyone with them, but you look at an animal like so here's an animal that is from northeastern Johannesburg, okay? And this is a common phenotype. And that's a Rinkals.
So that all white look?
Yeah. But it's not really white. It's more of like a light gray, like a slate color. But at the same time, if you drive across town, across city, the animal turns into this.
So it goes from all white to all black.
Yep.
So
Literally,
my question to that
other
would be,
side
if
of
it's
city.
in Johannesburg, which is a very urbanized area, right?
Right.
Is the all white look more to blend into cement, bricks, stuff like that? You know, is that a recent
Well,
evolution of that species?
no, it's believed to be the stone and the rocks of the earth. So you have I can't remember. It's a very, very rich in iron soil. That's that blood red
Obsidian?
African soil. No, it's with an L. I can't remember it for the life of me. I'll look it up in a second. But that rich iron soil yields a more colorful snake, just because it has to blend into that terrain. Whereas these animals here is more the limestone and shale and those more grayscale rocks and grayscale soils, hence the coloration. And I mean, that's the theory. You look at an animal like this one. Now, this is I gotta find my notes, but this is obviously a baby or a juvenile, probably 6 to 8 months old, and it is in a puddle. And this is on the other. This is southwestern Johannesburg, or southwestern Gauteng.
Joburg.
Joburg. Yeah, that's almost patternless.
Yeah. And it's not known if this animal will turn into that white one I first showed you, or if it's going to retain this exact patterning its entire life, where it has those very, very faint barred look, or if that tipping and that speckling will just disappear and it'll just be a khaki snake. Who knows? And then you drive you drive 2.5, 3 hours straight due south, and you run into this.
So they're basically Cape Cobras.
So that's more of a red type phase, or is that more what you have?
So this is more. So I've got, from what I've gathered, I've got northwestern KwaZulu-Natal and the eastern portion of the Eastern Cape province, because I have ones that are very, very similar to this, and then I have the black and white or the black and yellow banded, strictly banded. So it's not known if the Eastern Cape yellow banded ones are an intergrade between this and the jet black ones from Johannesburg, or if it's just the soils in that area, the grass in that area, they yield that zebra pattern. Who knows? So I'm very excited to see what's to come. And now that I have a diverse group of individual animals, I wasn't gonna be selective in my breedings, in my pairings. I was just gonna throw the right size adults together, see what comes out. And now I think I almost have to. I think I have to keep the black and yellow with the black and yellow, the mottled with the mottled, the black and yellow or black and orange with the black and orange, and just to see what my offspring produce. But at the same time, I kind of want to just mix it up and see what comes out. So I don't know.
How cool would it be if you just mix your group together and you ended up with, a patternless all black one or a patternless all tan one?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, because I mean, this is. Let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah, especially knowing if it may be a morph, but it's also a natural phenotype that you see a lot in the wild.
Sure, and it's something that, in theory, as long as I've got my localities that I think are correct, they're correct, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So, for example, let me see this picture if it'll let me load. So I don't remember. One of these is the male, one of these is female. I can't remember which is which, but this might very well be my first pairing, even though they're not as big as my other pair. But I believe that's the female.
Yeah, that's a beautiful animal, man.
Ooh, yeah.
And here's the male. So very, very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
You know, really, they're more like they're almost a snake version of a Gila monster.
Yeah.
As far as the overall look of them.
You know, and then I'm probably eventually going to I need to get a little more size on them. But I have this one here. Where the hell is it? There's so many snake photos.
It's the problem we all have.
I know, right? So I'm going to definitely pair this animal. Come on, pictures. So this is that black and yellow banded that we were talking about. There's the one that I have that's in a 3-foot enclosure that I'll get the whole plants and everything because I want to show her off. She's probably my biggest female. She's also damn near the meanest female in the lot. But there's this one that I've shown frequently. And where the hell is the picture of the boy? So here's the boy that I'm going to pair her with. Come on, pictures. There's the male. Right?
Yeah.
So black and yellow, black head, majority black on the hood. I'm sorry, that's a female. I got the wrong snake. Hold on. All right, so that snake there is female, and that's going to go with, because that's the same snake. That's going to go with this. I should probably put these things like next to each other first so I can compare and contrast. Damn, this thing won't let me do it. There we go. That. So very, very similar. Very, very similar in color, very, very similar in banding. And if I don't do the high yellow one, then I'll stick with this high contrast one and see what happens, man. You know?
Yeah. And I wonder if it's like an Amazon Trebo type thing where
a polymorphism.
Yeah, there's a lot of polymorphism between them where, like, even if you bred two that look quite similar together, you'd end up with kind of different looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that also there's the idea where it's almost like puppies, where you can have attributes that are more so like dad or attributes that are more so like mom, but at the same time, you can still see that it's the quote-unquote cross. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for all I know, I could breed two blacks together and make an orange one. Who the hell knows? So,
I mean, I still think it'd be pretty cool if you got one that was solid one color, whether it be black or, tan or yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very interesting that if you notice those black ones that come out of Hotang that have the white bar on the neck, right, that give the quintessential ring neck, and then you look at these that come out of EC or out of KNZ, and there's almost no ring. It's almost a completely blank chest. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit. I mean, you can see there should be one there. There should be one here. There should be one here, but it's not. It's just blank. So, and then a couple of the KNZ animals, their belly is damn near like cerulean blue, like a rich, vibrant blue. Unfortunately, you have to put them in a deli cup and hold them upside down like this to see it,
Right.
So I don't know if that blue belly will translate over or not. I don't know.
And is that like a general rule, or is that just
no
the
idea.
picture you've seen online?
The blue belly?
No, I mean the blue belly, along with all the general looks, is that just what you happen to see from those areas, or is that what they all look like from those areas?
Yeah, those phenotypes from those areas all exhibit those same traits. So, like, you're not going to find an all-black snake with a white neck in Durban. You're just not. It's too far away, and it would have to be some kind of anomaly or human transplant or something. It's just not.
Because I know we've talked about that with corn snakes, where the quote-unquote Miami corns,
right?
You find them way further north than what people would say, and then you also find non-Miami corns in Miami.
Right, and it'd be the similar thing. It would say, okay, I'm going to find Miami corns in Orlando, but I'm not going to find Miami corns in Raleigh. You know what I mean? Something very similar in that regard.
So. Yeah, because you hear reptile people talk about the overall like locality phenotype and stuff like that, and then you actually start talking to people that really get in the weeds and really go look for stuff. They're like, that's not as accurate as the field guides or the internet experts would have you believe.
Right. So, and then I started to try and find pictures of animals outside of the normal localities. When someone posts a picture from southern Zimbabwe or even Lesotho. So like there's a ton of snakes in Lesotho, but they don't get exposed on Facebook or they don't get shown on the snake ID groups because I guess a lot of people in Lesotho, they're not using Facebook, or even if they are, they don't think to use the snake ID groups. I mean, who knows? But I try and save all the photos that I can just for learning. And like, you look at this guy who caught this snake in Lesotho, and unfortunately, this individual was very lucky. He had no idea that it was dangerous. He also had no idea that it spat, but it never spat on him once from his description. But look at this animal. This is basically the patterning of the southern states, but the coloration of the northern. And I don't know if you can get it to focus, but
oh wow, that's amazing.
It's basically a tan snake with black stripes or black bars, but black banding. So
I'm gonna need you to send me that just on Instagram or something, because I really like how that animal looks.
Dude, that animal's breathtakingly amazing. And then you look at the terrain in the background. Let me see if I can send it to post it on here, because it doesn't do it justice.
Because I mean, just as far as reptiles go, anything with a very light background with some small patterning, especially bands, that's something I'm really into.
All right, so let me send this to us on Facebook so we can post it.
Yeah, just
so like that's and I can't wait to show this photo, because this is a classic example of it. Just the snakes have evolved to match the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So here is this poor guy in Lesotho that found a snake in his yard, and he's like, "Hey, take a picture. We'll put it on Facebook and see if people know what it is." Look at that animal. And then just look at like the dust and the sand and whatever this is over here. And just
it's
the
like
landscape.
the opposite, to where it's the black is kind of takes the place of the white on the other ones.
Of all the ones you've shown, that is my absolute favorite. I love how that thing looks.
Yeah, and it's like a South African blackhead almost.
Yeah, it's like a Western blackhead with even smaller black bands.
Yeah, smaller, tighter bands. And like I like how it has that the lepidus look, the rock rattlesnake look, where it's a broad band and then a thin band, broad, thin, broad, thin, broad, thin, all the way down to like the mottled neck. And this guy was cool. He says on the Facebook post, he's like, yeah, we took photos of it, but we really didn't know what it was, and we weren't really too keen. It wasn't too happy with us playing with it, so we let it go behind the building and made sure that it went off in the grass somewhere and it was away from people. So like, I commend this guy because clearly he knew the snake wasn't doing him any harm, What? No need to kill it. So it was a good story overall.
Yeah, and he's absolutely lucky it did not spit in his eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was just thinking there was another Lesotho one that. So this guy, this is same region. This guy is extremely lucky. I can't believe this guy didn't get bit. So this is a Lesotho locality banded rincals that when the guy picked it up or the guy found it, it feigned death. So
that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, doesn't it? Now Facebook's being weird and won't let me exit out of that photo. Hold on.
I wish I could see it.
Oh, you will.
Oh, I know.
So this animal is playing dead. It is feigning death. And it's so stressed that it doesn't bite the guy. But this just made my skin crawl when I saw this. And he's not he's not holding it by the head. He's just holding it because he's like, oh look, it died or it's playing dead, whatever. And the post really didn't allude to anything, but it did say like, oh, the snake was relocated behind the house and everything's fine. But now this is the same region of Africa, but now look at how wide these bands got.
Yeah, and they're a lot lighter. They're more of a gunmetal blue, at least from that picture.
Right.
We don't know what kind of phone or what kind of camera he used.
Sure.
For those pictures, but
I think what's most interests me about this photo is the fact that the animal may not be this light. It may just be dirty from the dust that we see over here. This high dusty slaty soil, and then if you'll notice here, it has white bands on the throat. So it's very, very interesting, and I feel like this might be some kind of integrated region between those northern black stuff and then the southern more color banded stuff too. Again, like getting pictures out of Lesotho is so freaking hard. So I was just lucky to find the 4 or 5 that I have. So it's all part of the quest for knowledge, boys.
Yeah, and I remember
quest.
Yeah.
I remember watching documentaries about elephants where they would talk about the red elephants or the white elephants, and it wouldn't be a different color phase. It would just be like they cover themselves in dust as far as like using dust and sunscreen. So, you're talking about, okay, it may be the typical ring calls color phase, but it just covered in dust reminds me a lot of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it wouldn't shock me. So I've noticed, so I switched all my wrinkles off of paper and put them on actual substrate because they're urinating so much that the tub is just covered in pea dust. It dries and it just gets everywhere. And I feel bad for them that not only are they breathing this in because they're in a tub, but it's all over them. It's still uric acid. You know what I mean? However you cut it. So that's why, recently I did a little bath time photo shoot where I put some of the girls in a tub of water. But it made me wonder if maybe they did that on purpose, and maybe some of these snakes are so dusty because they're doing it on purpose, much like the elephant or the rhino. Maybe it's so hot that they're covering themselves for whatever reason. But then you see a picture of the guy holding that one modeled one, or the one tight banded one, and he's wearing a big heavy jacket and long pants. So I didn't get a chance to look at the time of year in which the photos were taken. I neglected to remember that. But then again, it is sub-Saharan Africa, so who knows? It could have been 100 degrees out and the guy's still wearing a poofy jacket like Marty McFly. Who knows?
Well, I mean, you look at the Southern Hemisphere, and the Southern Hemisphere seems to get a lot more UV radiation. Like, it can still be 70 degrees, but you go outside, you feel like you're in an oven because of just how intense the sunlight is.
Sure. And again, that's another thing too, is that granted the animals are fairly fossorial. They do inhabit a lot of burrows. They're quick to go down a hole of any kind, whether it be a mouse hole or another snake burrow or something. So I imagine they get dusty that way, but just like the elephants do it as a protectant from the sun, it wouldn't shock me if they're doing something similar, even if it's hot out, or even if it's cold out, because they want to get away from the radiation, not necessarily the heat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, like I said, it can be like room temperature outside, but if you take a UV meter outside, it'll be like 14, which is insane.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we saw that in West Texas. You know, Burke brought out the UV index reader and the ambient temperature reader, and it was like it had I think at one point Justin, it was in Big Bend by that dinosaur bone site.
Yeah.
And he did the UV index was like 12. No, I'm sorry. It was like 7 or 8, but it was like 100 degrees ambient, you know, and it's still 100 degrees in the shade, but the UV went down to like 2, you know, or whatever it was. So
was brutal.
It was brutal. But I don't know. I need to find more locality pictures, and I need to learn all that I can in the quest for knowledge. I like how I sent Justin that picture so I could upload it, and Justin goes, "Oh, whoa."
Yeah, and I mean, I would still love to be able to, going back to the West Texas thing. Next time you're out, tell me, because I want to come. Like,
dude, I want to go again so bad.
I want to check out the mountains in Arizona and West Texas and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm definitely due to go back to Arizona, and now I feel like we have so many friends now that are in Arizona. It would make things, I don't want to say easier, but it would make it more fun, because not only do you get the fun of the herp trip, but you get the camaraderie of
you get the van talks.
Yeah, well, not even that, just the van talks are awesome. You know, the after herping meal talks are awesome, but just the people that are in our community that we know are just so awesome. And I feel like it just augments this amazing hobby. You know? And you're in Arizona.
Absolutely.
There's rattlesnakes and Gila monsters.
Yeah, I want to go chase the bear up the hill. I'm so upset that I didn't get to chase the bear up the hill.
That was okay. It was cool to see, but
that was fine. Whatever. It's just a black bear.
And dude, like I saw,
they're a lot bigger when they're not behind glass.
Yeah, I can imagine. We always talk about how like you have like your key species you're looking for, you know, and finding an ornate blacktail was definitely one of my key species, and we saw one, and that was freaking awesome experience I'll never forget. But it couldn't put a finger on the horned toads, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, horned toads were the highlight of the trip, I think.
See, I know that there's introduced populations of horned toads in parts of South Carolina, and I think there were some in Florida. I don't know if they're still existing in Florida.
Okay.
But something about that kind of fascinates me. Like I know Isle of Palms in South Carolina, which is not too far away from you, right, Justin?
No, it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah. There are some horned toads on the sand dunes out there. I wanted to go check out. Just, I mean, horned toad's not even a rare animal, but it's just the whole idea of, hey, these were here because some soldiers in World War II, their kids came over and brought these and just released them, and they still exist in 2021.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. Think about how much inbreeding is there.
Yeah, there's so many generations.
Yeah, legit isolated population.
Yeah, and there's rumors that there are parts of Georgia where there are horned toads. I haven't asked people where they are. My friend Jade has told me that there are a couple counties in Georgia.
I think it's down south.
They exist.
Like also in sort of not far from me on the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like there's people around me that tell me that, you know, an hour from my house, an hour south from my house, there's southern hognose. And dude, I've never seen one. I've never seen an eastern this far south, let alone a
Mhm.
southern. So who knows? Maybe they're just bogarting them. But well, gentlemen, I have been ranting about wrinkles for far too long. It is the 2:30 mark.
Yep.
Any closing remarks, gentlemen?
Nope.
Nope, I don't have anything.
All
No, it's
right.
good talking to you guys.
Yeah, man, it's a great show. We still got people watching. That's good. We didn't bore them too much. So, and
We
feel
will-
free. What?
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 What were you saying?
Well, I was going to say what you were going to say, but then I stopped because you were going to say it.
Said we'll be seeing everyone for THP episode number 140 on Thursday.
Nice. Don't forget to check out the fine folks of the Pacific Northwest at
Puget
Puget
Sound
Sound
Pythons.
Pythons. And dude, we have 3 more. Is it 3 or is
Yeah.
it 4 more episodes?
This
Do,
is
you
episode
count
97.
Right, but I'm saying, like, do we count? Do we only have 3 left until the 1?
It's going to be 2 after this one. 98, 99.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. So the third one is the episode 100. What are we gonna do, man?
I don't know. We need to. We've been saying this for the last like 6 months that we're going to talk about it and figure something out. But
We got to do it. We got to do
Telling
it.
you, man. Raven Hoser. That's what you need to do. Hoser
Dude, how-
100.
Would
the roast of Raymond Hoser.
Well, how about this?
Yeah, you need to have him come on, have him explain his life. I'm telling you, man, that's how you get your ratings up. You got to have Raymond Hoser come on here and discuss
what if-
his taxonomical findings.
Well, I'll be honest. If I got him on, would you have him on, Justin?
You should do it. I'm telling you, man. You should. Okay, it's talked about so much in the reptile community. You could be the guy that has on the controversial figure. You could be the guy.
I'll save that for other hosts that are desperate.
Ooh, burn.
You know, some people are going to do it, and it's going to be very well listened to. But I get it.
None of which being the NPR crew, just so everyone knows.
Vic has a good idea. We'll do a round table, but I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We will figure it out.
All right, kids. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We love you all.
Later.
Bye.